Monday, December the 1st, 2025. It is 9 o'clock on the dot, I think. My name is Roxana Gamusio. I'm the Executive Director with the Cosmetology and Barber Examiners Board, and I would like to welcome all of our board members the Monday after Thanksgiving. Thank you all for being here. We stick to that first Monday in the month, but this is a hard one, so really appreciate that. As first order of business, I'm going to do roll call just to make sure that we do have quorum, and then we will get started. Members, when I call your name, if you can unmute yourself on the mic and then make sure to turn it off so we can hear everyone, then we will get going. Ms. Susan Arnold?
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Perry Baldwin?
Present.
Thank you. Ms. Bernetta Carlton?
Present.
Thank you. Ms. Anita Charlton?
Present.
Thank you. Ms. Monica Lemons is not here with us today. Mr. David McElreath? Present. Thank you. Mr. Marquise Martin?
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Jeffrey Moran is also not here with us today. Ms. Lane Petty is not here. Ms. Becky Russell?
Present.
Thank you. Ms. Amy Tanksley?
Present.
Thank you. And Ms. Tamika Turner?
Present.
Thank you, members. And Ms. Lori Turner did tell me before the holidays that she wouldn't be able to make it, but that gives us 9 members here, and we do have quorum. Before I turn it over to you, Chairman Russell, if we've got individuals either here participating virtually or here in person at the end of the meeting during new business, we'll make sure to give ourselves some time for public comment, and I will turn it over to you, ma'am.
I'd like to welcome everybody. I would like to start by welcoming the schools. If you have a school, if you'll stand up and introduce yourselves.
Hi, we're with Northeast High School in Clarksville, Tennessee.
I'm with Sweetwater Institute of Cosmetology in Sweetwater, Tennessee.
Marley Sherrod, Kayla Cleary, UNC Cat Murfreesboro.
Laura Davis, Georgia Christie.
All right, we have several schools in the crowd today, including a local high school, which we're also always welcome those high school students. All right, Ms. Roxana, if you'd like to get us started.
Absolutely. Thank you, ma'am. As first order of business, the agenda was emailed to everyone ahead of time. It has been posted on the website since November the 21st. I would need a motion and a second to accept the agenda unless there are any amendments to it.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by David McElreath and a second by Perry Baldwin. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that approves the agenda that we will be following. The next order of business is approving the October 6, 2025 minutes. Those were also emailed to everyone. If there are any amendments, please let me know. Otherwise, we would need a motion to accept those minutes. Thank you. We have a motion by David McElreath and a second by Ms. Amy Tanksley. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. I apologize. I think we're kind of dark back there. Can you all see? Okay. I will start with our schools. And members, this starts on your iPad on page 3. The first school before you is Images Career College. This is a new cosmetology school. Ms. Jada Cantrell is, I believe, participating virtually. We are using WebEx as of this meeting. Apparently, it has a lot more security than Teams did. So, and so far, the meetings that I've held through it has gone really well. So Dana controls that, and as soon as it's that person's turn, she will make sure to unmute them. That way you can ask any questions like you did before. But that's the reason you're not seeing the individual schools already participating. If you have any questions for Ms. Cantrell, she's available for you, and you've got the application in front of you starting on page 3. Ms. Russell, I'll turn it over to you.
Ms. Cantrell, would you like to tell us a bit about your school?
Good morning. Yes. I'm all excited to get it started. It's I'm having the cosmetology program, the aesthetic program, and the nail program, and I'm looking forward to getting it up and running and letting the community know. Of course, I've already reached out to the community and let them be aware that I've opened up a new school and where it's located and etc.
All right, Ms. Cantrell, we'll start out with some questions for you. You said that you have cosmetology, manicuring, and aesthetics. Do you intend to teach barbering as well?
No, not at this present time.
Okay, I just noticed on your floor plan, you had something on there that said barbering, so I just wanted to make sure.
Let's see, on my floor plan. Oh, I have down 16 stations and barber chairs. That means styling chairs.
Okay, thank you. I noticed that I finally found in your catalog the hours of operation. That's 8 to 5, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
And are you doing full-time only or part-time as well?
I'm doing full-time and part-time. It is in my school catalog, ma'am.
Okay, I had a hard time. I had a hard time locating the times for class. That also must be on the enrollment agreement. Both full-time and part-time hours must be on the enrollment agreement, and I had a hard time locating that. I looked through the number of hours and weeks hours per week, and then the weeks that it would take to complete any of your programs, and those are not accurate. That's on your page 1. You've got 40 hours 40 hours per week and 48 weeks. That would be almost 2,000 hours. In the nails and skincare, the hours that you have listed are not enough to complete those programs. So you'll need to look at and correct those hours.
May I ask where you see that at, please?
It's on your page 1. It
Oh, you're
says,
talking about in my school catalog, on my table of contents. Okay.
it's on your page 1 of the enrollment agreement. You have course of study, cosmetology program, 1,500 hours, and then you break it down, but that does not equal 1,500 hours. And then as you move through, you have the nails and the skincare as well. And on the first page of those agreements, those do not break down to the correct hour time length. Can you tell me where your grounds for termination are in this documentation?
Okay. I still don't see. Okay. Okay. The page 1 that you was talking about. Okay. On my table of contents. Let me see what you're talking about here. Okay. Okay, page 9 of my school catalog. I've got down cosmetology, 1,500 clock hours. Let's see here. Okay, I've got down cosmetology course. Let's see. Textbook. Okay. On my school catalog on page 11, where that I have the cosmetology curriculum, and underneath that it says the total program hours is 1,500. I have 300 for the general sanitation, sanitation. Okay, 600 of the. I got it broke down. That does equal up to 1,500 hours. And the nail tech on page 11, where it says
Ms.
600.
Cantrell, that is
Yeah.
not what I'm saying. On the first page of your enrollment agreement for cosmetology, for skincare, whichever one it is, the first page of your enrollment agreement where the students are signing, saying that they are applying for school, you have it broken down, and your hours breakdown says 40 hours per week will take 48 weeks to graduate your program. And that is closer to 2,000 hours than it is 1,500. The nails and skincare, the hours per week and the weeks required do not equal the correct amounts. So you'll need to look at that. I'd like to move on, though. Can you tell me your grounds for termination and where I could find that at?
Okay, determination. Okay, I see what you're talking about now. That's no problem. I can fix that. The termination. Okay, where's this say?
Ms. Russell, I believe that that's on page 4 of her document. It's in the middle of a sentence with other items,
Okay.
page 24 of ours.
Okay, Ms. Cantrell, it looks like we have located that information. On your page 4 of your documents, you have mentioned in there hybrid. Can you tell me about your hybrid course?
Mm, mm.
I think I may have said your page 4. It's actually your page 5. It says additional requirements for admission into hybrid programs, and it continues on. Can you tell me about your hybrid program?
On page 5. Okay, credits earned. Images, credits, fair cost may not be- Okay. I apologize. May you repeat the question again because I didn't. Let's see here.
I would like to know about your hybrid programs. It mentions it in the center of page 5, and I just want to know what that hybrid program looks like. Are you offering virtual education?
Mm, Okay. No, not at this. Let's see here. Let's- mm, No, I will not be. I just now realized that. I meant to take that out. I apologize. At this present time, I will not be offering that. I'll be doing the in the classroom.
Can you tell me a place where it says that you will have your full and part-time hours kept separately? I was unsure if you
Yes,
were, I was
yes,
unsure if
I
you had
have.
part-time.
Yes, I do. It is on. Wait a minute. I got that highlighted. It is in my program delivery format of the school catalog on page 9.
Okay?
I have at
Do,
the top where it's. I'm
I
sorry. Go
see it.
ahead.
I was able to locate it. Um, can you tell me about your contingency plan?
Do you mean hours for the students?
No, a contingency plan, if your school were to close tomorrow, what would happen to your students? Roxana, can you tell me, did she turn in a contingency plan?
Ms. Russell, you've got her final application. I've gone through the list of requirements, many of which you've listed several times, and so I can't tell you if she has one or not. What she completed after the last meeting was exactly everything you asked her to do based on the checklist, and the checklist, as well as the statute, requires a contingency plan with a teach-out. So you've got her final documents.
I was unable to locate a contingency plan, meaning a teach-out plan if your school were scheduled to close, or if the school, there was some kind of natural disaster and the students didn't have a school to go to, where those students might go. That's a contingency plan, and I was unable to locate that. You have in your documentation that you would return refunds to students within 45 days, but as it seems to apply to only certain types of refunds. So you give reasons that refunds might be issued, but only certain types of refunds state that they would be returned in 45 days, and that must be for all of them. I was a little confused as I was reading through your documentation. You got to a portion of the law, which you seem to have copied directly from the law and placed it into your documentation. And then you had P.8, high school equivalents, and then it would say it's telling you, and then say what that law is telling you. It continued to go further down, and I don't understand what P.8 is. It doesn't relate to where it says it's telling you, and then it stated what those law numbers were telling. I'm assuming it was supposed to be something relative to the law was telling you. Those letters or numbering system that you have there do not relate to the law whatsoever. I don't know. I don't understand how it related. I went through several of them, and I couldn't understand how to match that to law numbers. I'm not sure if this was just notes that somebody was giving you that accidentally ended up in this documentation. I'm not sure what it is. It also says that you will receive the laws and rules. I would suggest that you add the state board's website there rather than giving them a hard copy of laws and rules, because as those rules change, if we give students a hard printed copy of laws and rules, then that in essence becomes their Bible that they live by for the rest of their life. And if laws and rules change, then they are unaware of that. So they need to be given a website so that they can look into the laws and rules rather than copying those down on paper for them. You have Title IV grants on your page 5. This is a brand new school, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, it is. And
Okay.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but when you was talking about where I have in each of my contracts, you call it an enrollment, where I have on page 2 of the cosmetology program, where I have the Tennessee State Board of Cosmetology and Barber laws and rules. I'm letting them know that this is the laws, and their they will will be receiving the laws and rules and regulations of our industry, because I will be sure that they get a copy of it all. And I'm just letting them know that in that, it's letting them know about the cosmetology program and the laws and the rules of it, where it's located at. That's why you're confused on that part. And I just put what the main thing of the cosmetology program, because they're new, they won't know anything, and I'll explain it to them, because that's when the orientation I have with them and everything, I break it down and I'll explain it to them. And at the end of my enrollment, I have at the under the acknowledgement receipt at the bottom of it, I have down that they will receive the laws and rules. I will be sure that they get a copy of the laws and rules. And I'll also let them know where the website is and et cetera. I will give it all to them. So
So
that's what I'm planning.
So you answered my question just a moment ago that this is a brand-new school, that you've not been in business before. But you lead in this documentation, you're leading students to believe that this is an accredited school capable of receiving Title IV funding, which is not accurate because in order to receive accreditation, you have had to have produced graduates to get accreditation. So they are not, you have a huge section that goes through Title IV funding and federal financial aid, which they are not able to receive.
Yes, I understand that. And in my school catalog on page 22, under financial assistance and planning, there is a paragraph there that says, at the present time, this school is not accredited. Therefore, financial assistance is not available. At such time as we become accredited, the financial aid program listed below may provide financial assistance. The program listed below are provided for information purposes only.
So I
I'm
think
explaining
that
and
your
letting them
best
know.
course of action would be to remove all federal financial language until which time you are accredited,
Okay,
as to not confuse potential students.
okay.
You state that you will provide them with completion rates and pass-fail rates as well. You do not have those at this current time because you are a brand-new school. I have a hard time with your transfer credits section. It's on page 6. I'm unclear as to your transfer credit policy, or I understand your transfer credit policy, but I don't understand why you state in the transfer credits that were earned at your own school may not be accepted. I'm unclear as to why, if your institution taught them, why you would not accept credits if they were to drop out of school and return. In your dress code.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
In your dress code policy on your page 50, you start out with a paragraph about dress code, but then it goes into allied health related dress code, and I'm not sure why allied health would be relevant to the cosmetology class. Lastly, you state in your documentation that there's opportunities for internship on page 42, and I would be curious to know what your internship is.
On page 42. Yeah.
It appears that you're calling just the regular course of instruction. Part of that you're calling an internship. I'm not sure if that's correct, but I think that would be a little misleading and a little confusing to students who did not understand. An internship to me sounds like they're going to be working somewhere in a related field rather than coming to school. So I think that area needs some cleanup. Board members, I'm going to turn it over to you all and let you ask any additional questions that you might have.
Clarify something for me, if you would. On page 5, it says ICCC does not accept students on an ability to benefit basis. What does that mean?
On page 5,
Yes, ma'am. What does the ability to benefit basis mean? Somehow I've never heard that term, and I have no idea what it relates to. Any idea? No idea.
ICCC is their school name, Image Creation Career College.
Yes, can you clarify
theirs.
that ability to benefit basis?
Let's see here.
If I could answer, if I'm not mistaken, it's also connected to, federal aid as well, for students that do not have a high school diploma. But, so that will be connected to like, again, the federal aid, so.
Also, I've got a question on page 6, under policy concerning transfer credits, which you had addressed before. 1.A, at least 25% of the credits of hours, I've got that, but under note, this standard shall not apply to any of the training, if any of the training was taken at an accredited institution while the students were an active member of the military. So what's the policy if they were active members of the military?
Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay, I didn't mean to say not. I see what you're talking about now, because they will, be a credit for it.
Can you repeat that, Ms. Cantrell?
Okay, the gentleman was, saying under, my number one, at least 25, he said he understood that part. He said the note where it says the standard shall not apply if any of the training was taken at accredited institution while the student was a member of the U.S. Armed Service. I meant to say, yes, they will.
Yes, they will what? I mean, are you gonna take 50%, 75%? I'm unclear of what that actually means as a footnote to your item 1.
I'm saying that, I will accept the, 25% of the, credits or hours required for completion of any program must be earned through the instruction taken at the Images Career College. And so if they have like 50% or 75% of their credits, I'm saying that I will accept it.
Ms. Cantrell, I'd like to go back to another note that I missed that I had made for myself. In your blueprint, you have stated that you intend to teach aesthetics, but I do not see a facial or skincare area. We typically leave a lot of this up to our inspectors to go in to see the space. Blueprints can sometimes be difficult to read, but I will tell you now that if an inspector comes out, he will be looking for a facial or skincare area if you will be teaching aesthetics as one of your courses.
And I have one as well. It's the backup method for tracking. It says that you will use a clock hours where they will have their time card and they'll stamp it, and if anything happens it's saved in the cloud or something. What would be your second way of tracking the students' hours?
In my school catalog on page 9, ma'am, the question that you was asking me, I have under the program delivery floor mats where it says backup method for tracking hours. And also underneath that, I have the full-time and part-time. I'm letting you know that there will, under the backup method for tracking hours, there will be a time clock. Each student will have their time card to clock in and out. If the power goes out, the company has a backup system for the hours. The hours will not be lost. Full-time and part-time Images Creation Career College maintains separate academic attendance records for all full-time and part-time students to ensure accurate tracking of program hours and progress toward graduation requirements.
So outside of the tracking, the time card, what else, how else do you track those hours? I'm not saying the full-time, or how do you keep your full-time and part-time separate? Am I misunderstanding?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
No, there should be two methods of tracking the time. And so we only see one where it's the time clock, the time card.
I think that she thinks that because the company that she's got her time clock through has a backup system for keeping the hours that she has covered, but if that company were to go out of business,
Right.
then she has no records on ground. So their backup is not a backup for you. Is that what you're
I will-
saying, Ms. Turner?
Yes.
I will have it back up in my computer itself. I will have it, be sure that it is saved. And I will also have it put in their files, their hours.
Board members, do you have any additional questions?
Has she presented already? Is this the second time? Oh, okay.
Ms. Cantrell came to the board meeting last meeting to discuss with her school, but we did not see her paperwork at that time.
Oh, this is the first time everyone has seen the actual application. Okay. We've spent a lot of time going through this, and there are a lot of notes. So I guess my motion would be that she re-present at our next meeting with the updates that we have discussed.
And second.
We have a motion and a second to deny allowing Ms. Cantrell to appear at the next board meeting to represent. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, members. You're on page 86 of your iPads. I will give you a minute to.
Roxana, before moving on, is there anything else that we need for the list?
Ms. Tankley, she's had the list before. I believe she's taken notes today, and the recording will be
Available.
on YouTube as well that she can go through, but she's had the list, so she does
Okay, thank you.
see the requirements. You're welcome. This school is Opulence Academy of Hair Design. Ms. Courtney Hamilton, I believe, is with us. This is simply a floor update to a new school. On page 86, the first thing I have is the letter approving her school. She was presented in April of 2025. The school was approved to be inspected. However, that application has gone past the 6 months. She had issues with the floor plan and a situation to where she needed to make some changes. As the board knows, all school applications come before you. So technically, all you're really looking at is the revised floor plan to be able to approve her. I will open a new application for her since she's gone past the 6 months. The board, at least a year and a half ago, brought that to my attention. If a school ever expires, surely they're getting it done in 6 months. So this is a situation where she went past it, but it had to do with a floor plan. So she is just requesting an inspection based on this new floor plan.
We've approved all of the paperwork to confirm, and we're just approving the floor plan at this time.
Correct.
Okay.
Ms. Hamilton is here or online?
She's online.
Okay, Ms. Hamilton, would you like to tell us a bit about your new location?
Yes, it is Opulence Academy of Hair Design. It's located in Martin, Tennessee. We're excited to open in this location. This is not my first school, but I am excited to be in Tennessee because it is my first Tennessee school.
Board members, do you have any additional questions?
I do not. I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with the approval and the inspection.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the change of location or application. I'm not certain how we would word this, but we have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations and good luck with your new facility.
Thank you.
And congratulations, Ms. Hamilton. Members, next you have on your iPads, Love Beauty School. This is a new barber school. Ms. Tanya Lyles should be on the phone with us. This school is located in Manchester. This school has been a cosmetology school since October of 2022. The application, floor plan, enrollment agreement, catalog, and contingency plan were all received timely. Ms. Russell, I will turn it over to you.
Welcome, Ms. Lyle. Can you tell us a bit about your school?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. Thank you guys for having me. I did want to make a quick correction there. We've actually been a cosmetology school since December of 2006.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. We really just have noticed more of a desire, especially since the board had approved cosmetologists to do the 300 hours to kind of cross over and be dual licensed. We've seen an increase in interest in that, and then also an increase in interest in barbering just in general for our area. One of the things I think that we will be able to do is provide financial aid for students. Of course, you guys know there's several moving parts to this, but this is the first one. So close to me, there's not any barber schools that can offer financial aid, which I think is very important. I think that these men and women are trying to support their families, and having that funding to assist with that would be a good thing. So hoping to get this started, planning on offering classes early next year. Of course, we've got to get all of our approvals and everything. So this is where we're beginning.
Okay, thank you.
So to confirm, this is an operating cosmetology school that is adding barbering.
Correct.
So we are looking at the barbering piece today?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
As I look through your paperwork, your blueprint appears to say that you have a shared theory room. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. So if you're looking to the left there, hang on just a second, you will see there's a phase 1 classroom there, which that room is also used for theory as well. But then there's also the student break room. They'll have theory in that classroom in the mornings. And then of course, midday, they're going to have break in that. And then they can use that again after lunch for theory again if they needed to.
We do not have a problem with you sharing classroom space. We just want to ensure that you do know that those classes must be held at different times. So perhaps cosmetology in the morning, barbering in the afternoon, whatever works for you.
100%.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I think it would be extremely confusing for the educators and the students to try to do 2 curriculums at once.
We just like to make sure. Do you offer both full and part-time?
We do. Yes, ma'am. We actually have a variety of different schedules. we have part-time and full-time, but we also have day and evening classes. So with financial aid and accreditation, there are certain guidelines that we have to follow for them, but we always ensure that the part-time students have enough hours to meet those requirements as well.
Can you direct me to the place where it tells your full-time hours and part-time hours? How does a student know what time they're going to school? I see that on one page you have 8:30 to 5. You also have 8:30 to 9 p.m. 8:30 to 9 p.m. I'm just unclear of class times.
Yes, ma'am. So on the first page of that enrollment agreement, when we do their initial enrolling interview, we discuss the schedules that are available. I'm also looking through my policies and procedures to try to find those exact schedules for you. They are in the satisfactory academic progress policies as well. So when a student comes in, we're going to give them the option. Do you want to be day or night? They're going to let us know. And that time is actually going to be written on the first page of that contract. Of course, that's input into the administrative software, graduation date is generated, so on and so forth. But part-time would be 8:30 to 1:30 Monday through Friday. The evening class is also considered part-time. It's 4 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And then full-time students would be considered 8:30 to 3. We are open from 8:30 a.m. until 9 o'clock at night. This allows night students to come in early if they've missed hours and need to make them up. And it allows day students to stay over if they've missed hours and need to make those up as well. And I apologize, I'm looking through this for you now to try to find you the exact page with all of those schedules identified individually.
I see where you have a chart there so that you can write their schedule in for them. I guess I just kind of didn't understand what the chart was for, but
Yes.
Thank you for clarifying that. I do want to say, just because you were talking about makeup hours, to please remember and keep in mind that there is a maximum number of hours per week that a student
Yes, ma'am.
can attend. So if they are making up hours, they cannot attend more than the set number of hours.
Yes, ma'am, 100%.
Can you tell me your grounds for termination, where to find that? I have not located it in your documentation.
So it's going to be in a couple different areas there. And of course, there's different reasonings. But if you look on page 2 and then also page 3 of the enrollment agreement, it's going to list things such as harassment, stealing, drugs, and alcohol. But then if you go over to the actual school catalog, you're going to see rules and regulations on page 9, and then pages 12 through 17 are going to give you your policies and procedures, and you will find multiple reasons that a student could be terminated. Now, just, in being completely transparent, I do not like to terminate students. We do that only when we have to. That's only going to be a situation of maybe their attendance is bad, they're failing satisfactory academic progress policies, and I have to do that based on Department of Education's guidelines. Or from just a school policy standpoint, maybe they've come in under the influence of something, and unfortunately, we just cannot have that. It's disruptive for them and for the other students as well.
I might like to see that kind of housed together under the heading grounds for termination.
Okay.
So that, and you don't have to list every item again, but you might say grounds for termination would be, violation of these policies. You don't have to give the policy again, but violation of these policies, and then list the policies that they might have been violating. That would be grounds for termination, just for clarity for that student. Your graduation requirements, I was able to locate that, I think, but the heading is graduates rather than graduation requirements. So I suppose that you were thinking, graduates would have completed these things, but I think that they need to know this isn't a note for graduates, but a note in order to graduate, you must complete.
Yeah.
So
If
if
you will-
you would look at
I'm
that
sorry.
heading.
If you'll look on page 6 of the student catalog, it says course completion requirements at the top.
Okay.
And then I apologize, where is the one that says graduates at the top? What page do I need to be on for that?
I think it's your page 16. Let me look and
All right.
see.
Take a look at that right quick. I do apologize.
Yes, on your page 16, somewhere close to the center, it says graduates, and then it says in order to graduate. So I was assuming that this is your graduation policy.
I am so trying to find that. And again, I am sorry that I have not
Your-
found that yet. That's-
It's your page 16 of your handbook, I'm assuming, in the, kind of in the
My-
center, it says graduates.
Oh, okay, yes, I see what you're saying. No, that's gonna be, that's just letting them know that's another part of those policies and procedures. And one thing that we've seen as a school, and I don't know if anyone else could attest to this, but definitely as you grow and you become certified with higher education commissions and VA, things get added and added and added. And so it's like the information just keeps growing. But course completion requirements are definitely gonna be on page 6. I feel that that does lay it out for the student. And then that page 16 is just giving them an initial or an additional reminder. Hey, yes, you've got to do all this, but in addition, you've got to make sure your stuff is paid for. You've got to make sure your exams are completed. So it's just adding on to that.
Is your school currently offering federal financial aid?
Yes, ma'am, we are. And I did include some clauses in that handbook as well. You'll note that it says the Barber Academy is currently obtaining approvals for THEC, COE, VA, and Department of Education.
Okay, on your page 11, it says that you're currently offering financial aid, and then it says you're in the process of obtaining approval for financial aid. So that's a little confusing because in one sentence it says you have financial aid. The second one says that you are obtaining approval for financial aid.
So at the start of that second sentence, it actually says the Barber Academy is in the process of obtaining approval because of course these have to be listed as 2 different entities for the board. So it's saying Love Beauty School is currently offering it, but the Barber Academy is currently obtaining approval. Now, ideally, we hope that we obtain this approval, but as you're aware, we've got to go through state accreditation, THEC, and then the Department of Education.
I think that's what I missed, that you were saying Love's Beauty versus the Barber Academy.
No worries. You guys have a lot to read and go through, so I get it completely.
You have no idea.
I know. I'm so thankful for Miss Roxana because she really helped me get my stuff together. And I'll be honest, I've been in this industry for a long time. This is the first time I've sat before the board, and I'm like, man, they have a hard job.
All right, the last note that I have for you, and this is just kind of a note for you more than it is for us. Description of courses offered on your page 5. You list cosmetology, barbering, nail technology. This seems to be a page to help a student identify which course that they might want to go into. I appreciate the work that you've done here, and the work is accurate. However, what I would like for you to add in the barbering area is that you're going to add the shaving portion to that. I think
Yes,
that
ma'am.
helps to identify the differences between cosmetology and barbering. You have things
I agree
in
100%.
cosmetology like acrylic nails and gel nails that kind of stand apart in its own way, but in barbering you don't mention shaving. So I think that that might be more informational for a student to have added that.
I agree. I think that's a great thing. And one thing too, now that you mentioned that, I also think we need to mention in there like the wig fitting as part of like the curriculum. It's on the last page of that enrollment agreement.
Sure.
But in adding the shaving, I think adding that for the men and women, because I do feel that this is going to be dominated by men, but there will be some women that want to take it as well. But I think it'll be good for them to see that difference. So I will do that.
And like I said, that's a note for you and just helpful information for the students, not a requirement. We're not requiring that. Board members, do you have additional questions?
I did have something in that section, in that same section. Barbers aren't licensed to do pedicures, and that pedicure section is in there as well.
I will remove that. You're exactly right. Now, I do have a question for you also, and I'm assuming that we could provide that as part of the curriculum if we chose to. I know that they're not licensed to do it. Are we saying that's completely out of their scope of practice?
Yes. For
Perfect. Thank you.
barbers, yes,
You know
ma'am.
that? I will remove that, and I appreciate that. And I only had asked that question because I do have some men that come in here and we have a salon as well. And sometimes men may feel more comfortable with, another guy. We're talking like we've got a gentleman that has Parkinson's. So he comes in to get his nails taken care of, but we will make sure that that doesn't happen from a barber aspect and cosmetology only. And again, thank you for that clarification for me. I cannot hear anything if anyone is speaking.
We're thinking.
Okay. Okay.
There's
I
smoke
was
coming
like,
out of our ears, but that was not evidence.
in my mind, I was like, did I lose them?
I think everybody's just looking over their notes one last time.
Yeah, it sounds like there are just a few things that we need updated or changed, but I think I feel confident that those can be handled in the office. So at this point, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve pending a few minor changes. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations and good luck with your new school or your new barbering program.
Yes, and thank you. May I ask one final question? I know you guys have to move on. The next step, I'm assuming, is going to be an inspection. Will someone be reaching out to me to do that?
Ms. Lyles, you'll need to update the documents, the couple of things that the board members requested. Those documents will then come to me. I believe the grounds for termination was a big one, and then this crossover piece that was mentioned. And once those documents are correct, you'll have a letter from me, and we will coordinate the inspection when you're ready.
Perfect. Thank you. You guys
you.
have a blessed day. I appreciate you.
Absolutely, thank you. Members, you are on page 130. This is Beauty Collective Specialty School. This is a new school. Miss Sandra Tinnell. Okay, and give me a second to introduce you.
Okay.
That starts on page 130, members, and this school is located in Whitwell. You've got the application, floor plan, enrollment agreement, the contingency plan and catalog were all received timely. And Ms. Russell, I will turn it over to you.
Welcome. Would you like to tell us a bit about your school?
Well, I'm located in Whitwell, which is in the Valley, Chattanooga. Very small town. There's no beauty schools in the Valley. None of the high schools offer it. I have a very small space. I have a salon in the back, which is currently not open. It's just kind of sitting there. I have a large front room, which I plan on using for my classroom. Has its own bathroom and an office space. And I've had this building for about 3 years, and when the laws changed and allowed for specialty schools and apprentice schools, I thought this is what I need to do. So I'm excited. I'm nervous, but I'm ready. I've been teaching for 16 years. I've been in the industry for 33 years.
Can you tell us what programs then you're offering?
I plan on offering apprentice cosmetology, apprentice manicuring, apprentice eyelash specialist, and the instructor program.
Thank you.
I have some background knowledge of this school. Sandy and I have actually worked together, so I kind of understand her process of going through this. I would like to ask a few questions, just I think it will help to clarify for the remainder of the board members, as well as letting them ask their own questions. The first question I'd like to ask and have you explain is, how will you teach all of these different courses in the small space that you have? And these students, I think you have said, are going to attend in person. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And how will you have these students attend in this small space?
So I have the schedule broken down. I'm requiring full-time for cosmetology, which is Tuesday through Friday, 8 to 4 p.m. And then the apprentice manicuring is Tuesday and Thursday, for, the evening hours, 4 to 8. That way I'm not working day and night all week long. And then the apprentice lashing specialist, since it is a smaller hour program, I plan on teaching it on Mondays. So I have them all broken up, different schedules.
Will you use any virtual options in order to teach?
No, no.
Board members, do you have questions?
I think we've asked apprentice schools if they have a list of salons. It looks like you've got that on page, let's see, it's R141. I don't know what page number that is of you at the very back, the last page of your presentation. Those are the salons that you'll be partnering with for the additional hours needed.
Yes, ma'am. I actually have a few more than this. I have 24 students on a waiting list currently, which I, of course, will not be able to take that many at one time, but I do have a long list. Some of them, of course, are more interested in manicuring or cosmetology, so I have some more salons that are interested in doing apprentice if I need more.
Great, thank you.
And members, I just want to clarify, she's listed the names of the salons, but what the board has asked is for an individual. We need that licensed professional with 10 years or more, and she's given us 3. I don't think any school has given me 3 to this date, so I do commend her.
Is there a completion schedule for each program?
Yes, it's on my page 5.
It's on 138 of our presentation.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve this school.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this school. All in favor?
Aye.
And due to my relationship, I will abstain.
Thank you. We do have quorum, so we're fine. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. And
Congratulations and good luck.
when you're ready to be inspected, just let me know. Thank you so much. Thank you, members. Next, we are on your iPads on page 144, and this is Sweetwater. We have Miss Misty Pine or Amanda Debity will be participating. Wasn't sure if in person or on the call. We will find out. The school is located in Sweetwater. Oh, you are here. That's right. Thank you. You have before you the floor plan, the application enrollment agreement catalog, and contingency plan. All were received timely, and I will turn it over to you, Ms. Russell.
Welcome. Can you tell us a bit about your school?
Good morning. So we are a small school in Sweetwater, Tennessee. We've been open for 13 years. We've been accredited for 4 years now. We have put through about 1,000 students, which is pretty awesome to me in our tiny little county. So we are in a very small building. I went to school there over 20 years ago. The building was built in like 1950. That building, I think, is 3,200 square feet. I recently purchased a 6,000 square foot building on 4 acres. So we are super excited to grow and expand our school and give our students some breathing room and more than 2 restrooms. So
Congratulations on your purchase. We always like to talk to these school owners that are changing their location about how far it is. Will it be a hindrance to your students?
no, thank you. It is about 2 miles from our school. So still in the same small town and just two miles away. And they actually don't have to wait on the train every morning for school, so.
I noticed on your blueprint that it appears that you have your cosmetology theory and clinic, manicuring theory and clinic. It is required that you have an enclosed classroom space for each discipline. Is that enclosed classroom space, is that going to be an issue?
No. The manicuring space, so are you saying the manicuring space needs to be separate than the,
So we typically have a clinic or salon type of area and a classroom area, and it is required by law that you have an enclosed classroom space. Do you have a classroom space outside of your clinic or salon area that you will be utilizing?
it is an enclosed space, and we use the clinic floor in the mornings for that theory. And so that's before we take any clients or anything like that. So it is a theory class in the morning, and then they take break, and then that is that is where we take guests in the afternoon.
Maybe legal can weigh in on this. Am I correct in saying that we must have an enclosed classroom space?
Yeah, we do have to have an enclosed classroom space. Basically, it assures when we go into inspection that there's an area of the building that's dedicated solely to education and would be separate from the salon or anything else going on.
So we do have space available for that. If we need to do that, we can absolutely do that. I did not bring my glasses in with me, but even in the front, so on that floor plan down at the bottom where it says we have 3 office spaces, one of those could absolutely be theory in the mornings. And then as far as the nails go, one side of that would be classroom and the other side would be, and that would be enclosed, and that would, the other side would be the, for our services.
I can't tell you how to work this blueprint to make that work. We just need to make sure that you do
Okay.
have enclosed classroom spaces outside of your clinical, practical areas.
Okay.
And so the inspector, those are the things that they will be looking for. I would be setting you up for failure if I had not mentioned this
Yes,
prior
thank
to the
you.
inspector coming out. So do you have both full and part-time students or only full-time?
We only do full-time.
Okay. Another note that I had made as I was reading through your curriculum, you did a fantastic job in writing the curriculum in. It matches what the state board has laid out. However, when you move over into your student brochure, handbook, I suppose, catalog, you have then broken down the subjects further, and you have in cosmetology 150 hours at the instructor's discretion. You have 50 hours in aesthetics and 25 hours in manicuring, all at the discretion of the instructor. While I appreciate what you're trying to do to make sure that the students, maybe they get extra time in areas that they struggle with, those still have to fit the criteria of the curriculum. As I went through them, I kind of was jotting them down and trying to put them into areas. And it appears that for cosmetology, the 150 hours would be broken down into 50 in general and 100 in chemical. I have a hard time with the words at the instructor's discretion, because if the instructor's discretion was that the physical area is what needed work and they added those hours to the physical area, it would create an off balance. So I think that you need to figure out how to make that work within the frame of the curriculum that is provided by the state board. If you need notes for later, it's on your page 184. I'm sorry, it's on your page 14 is the cosmetology, and then you'll see aesthetics and manicuring are located in the same areas in those respective fields. board members, do you have additional questions?
Roxana, the current school is in good standing.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Then I'd like to make a motion that we approve the location change.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the change in location. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations on your new school. I hope that your students are very happy with that.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. You are expecting the floor plan to be revised and sent to me? Is that the only document?
The floor plan, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, prior to inspection.
Yes. Thank you, members. Yeah, and I think, just to clarify, the floor plan goes to the field inspectors with the application, so they make sure to follow what you've approved. So that's a minor change you'll be able to make. Thank you, members. Next, you have before you Jandy Academy. This is a new school of cosmetology. I'm gonna just make sure that Ms. Diane was able to get online to participate virtually. This new school is located in Chattanooga. You have the application, floor plan, enrollment agreement, catalog, and contingency plan. Their documents start on page 215. There's Ms. Diana. Ms. Russell, I'll turn it over to you now that I see she's on.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning. Would you like to tell us a bit about your school?
Yes, I am so excited for Jandy Academy. We're starting off small. We're going to end with a mighty impact. I did want to present an apprentice school with the opportunity here in Chattanooga just to help these students get in the workforce a little bit faster. So I am excited today.
Which programs will you be offering?
I'm going to offer cosmetology, manicuring, lash specialist. I did put aesthetics on there, but I also put a note that not at this time. I'm not going to offer it yet, just due to the instructors that's going to be there to help me.
Okay, and all of the programs will be the apprentice program?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
As I was going through your documentation, the first note that I have made for you is that your curriculum matches the state's curriculum. And I thought you were doing really well until I read that there was a shampooing area in manicuring. I think that was probably belongs with another group and you just added it to manicuring. But I think it's in the physical area of manicuring. So we will need you to revisit those curriculums to ensure that they match the state's curriculum.
Okay, yes, ma'am. I can change that.
Your graduation requirements, can you tell me where that's located?
Is on, let's see, grade requirement. Okay, bear with me here. Okay, I have it small on, hold on one second. I see grade. Ooh. I believe it's going to be on my page 12. Let me pull that up. My page 12 at the, okay, hold on, guys.
It looks to be
Okay.
page 232 and 233 of ours. You are correct. Your page 12, I believe, Ms. Forte, and page 13 maybe?
Yes, ma'am. Manicuring, lash, aesthetics, cosmetology, almost complete a one-time state-approved domestic violence training course in person online before graduating. And then the grade requirements are there, and yes. That's where I had it, ma'am.
I think that your graduation requirements could use some work, maybe under the title of graduation requirements. And then you need to list things like they must complete their hours that they have attended work as an apprentice for 750 hours, that they've passed their theory and practical, or whatever it is, that they've completed all tests or passed with a whatever percentage rate. If their graduation is dependent on if they've paid for school, they need to know these are the items that must be completed before you graduate.
Okay, yes, ma'am. I do have those listed like in other places. I'm so nervous. I can't put my hand
It's okay.
right on it because I think I have it, under each discipline. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just think a little cleanup there would be nice for them to understand their graduation requirements.
Okay.
I did not find, and I'm probably overlooking it, where you state that you are going to give the students a copy of the agreement.
Yes. Let me see. The enrollment agreement acknowledgement, where I say, let's see. Let me go back up to my first page. I'm sorry. Analyze the registration contract. Okay.
I see that they are acknowledging.
Certificate. Yeah, I see that they're acknowledging it, but you're right. I can't put my hand right on that.
Okay,
Sorry.
so somewhere where they sign and where the school administrator or whoever signs, it needs to state that they have received a copy and have them initial that they've received a copy of their enrollment agreement.
Okay.
I see your sanitary code. It's on your page 21. You say that the school will be kept clean at all times. We actually want to know what the student's role is, and the students need to know their role in the sanitary code. So if they are required to sweep or clean or whatever, they need to know what their role is in your sanitary processes.
Okay. I had removed like anything specific because they're only doing theory because it's an apprentice environment, but I will add that on there.
And it simply could be, that they clean up after themselves, or they are required to have a cleaning assignment every week. I don't know what the wording is that you want to use, and if they have no requirements, if you're gonna have a janitorial staff to clean up behind them, that's okay. But they need to know that it's the staff's responsibility to keep the school clean, or if they will have any role in keeping the school clean, then that needs to be laid out for them.
Ms. Russell, on page 241, see if that sort of meets what you're looking at. It's her page 21.
So that's what I had looked at, the sanitary requirements. It says Jandy Academy will keep the school clean, but who is it going to be the responsibility of the students or the staff? So maybe it's just adding Jandy Academy staff will keep the school clean.
Okay, I will add.
I guess I'm getting down to the bare bones. I'm looking at the way the documentation that we look at says plan and students' role regarding the sanitary conditions or sanitary code. So I just wanted to know what the students are doing.
Yeah, I had it real big in there, and with Miss Roxanne and I going back and forth, with it being an apprentice, I kind of had too much. So I just kind of generalized it, and I will add the Jandy staff, and I think that will
probably take care of it.
Okay.
I understand that you are not teaching aesthetics at this time, but I had a little bit of a hard time in your aesthetics area. This is, board members, this is on our 231, if you want to look at it. It says aesthetics, skin conditions and disorders. I think that you're outlining the curriculum for them. Aesthetic skin conditions and disorders, and then in kind of parentheses off to the side, you have something that says holistic remedies. I want to caution you about the word remedies. The dictionary definition of remedy is a medicine or treatment for a disease or injury. In the law, 62-4-102, Section B, the practice of aesthetics or the practice of cosmetology does not include any treatment or attempt to treat any abnormality or disease-related condition of the skin, skin disease process, or the aging process of skin. The words holistic remedies make it sound like you're going to teach them to treat skin diseases, and we need to ensure that they are not crossing over into the medical portion outside this board's regulation.
Okay, yes, ma'am. I'll remove that.
Before we go
Uh-oh,
too
I've
far,
lost you.
I saw on her page, I guess it's her page 23, it says, all students are required to share responsibilities of keeping the school clean and sanitary by throwing garbage in proper trash cans. That's kind of some responsibility for cleaning.
All right, she may have just fixed the whole cleaning issue. She found another statement. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Hold on, okay, now I can hear you again. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
We are just quietly reviewing your paperwork. We'll be with you in just a moment.
Okay, I'm so nervous that it's gonna cut off because it's been cutting in and out.
A note from Miss Roxana. We're ending the year with a bang, so she has 4 apprentice partners. So I know we just had 3 previous to this, but she has 4.
Wow, that's awesome.
Thank you. They're excited.
My last note, and this is just to the board, like the floor plan. I see where on the side it has what each letter stands for, but are we requiring that, the details be put into each room?
I mean, really, an inspector goes to inspect this. I mean, he has really no idea of what, you know.
I think that we have to take in consideration that this is an apprentice-only school. So the only furnishings that they may have are tables and chairs. So if you would like to see those tables and chairs, you can make that a suggestion.
Yes.
I don't know that there is enough equipment to have made a different floor plan.
Yeah. I mean, in our previous floor plans, we are seeing where, like the setup of the classroom, where the teacher station will be, or the desk and the chairs for the students. I mean, just a little bit more, detail put into it. I would like to see that.
I would assume that when the inspector goes, he'll have a list of requirements. I mean, I know that schools are required to have so many chairs per classroom. Is that on the apprentice school list?
No. So your apprenticeship school is the theory classroom. If the school decides to have up to 20 for one instructor, they could, but they could be a smaller school. There's no equipment.
So there's no requirements. I mean, the inspector goes to still look at the
Absolutely, to
classroom,
look
and
at
that
the
classroom can be
classroom.
set up, but there's no requirement for number of chairs or any of that.
Correct. The number of chairs come with the stations, right?
Yep.
Each student is supposed to have a station, but if this is just a classroom, we've never asked them to necessarily list how many chairs they're setting up and whether it's one table or two. It's a classroom.
So I've never seen it, but just to be clear, there is no minimum equipment for an apprenticeship school. No minimum,
There's-
other than, other than you need to have a chair and a desk, or a table or desk or a chair for every student that's attending class.
The apprenticeships hours done at the school are theory hours only. And so
Correct.
there's no specification in the rules as to what theory hours require other than an enclosed classroom and access to a restroom.
Right.
Now, what you're seeing is pretty much a very bland drawing. I'll use bland as a word, but, that's up to the individuals. We've never said what exactly needs to be drawn, but because there's no minimum number of items, it would be at her discretion to put separate chairs or one big chair. You can ask her definitely to draw it, but there is no set requirement.
I think mine is just for like future reference, moving forward, because in my head, if I'm teaching someone to drape a client, I need to have a chair there. If I want to teach someone how to let the chair down to the floor or recline the chair properly, I need to have a chair there, a barber chair or a stylist chair or something like that, right? I know I'm not teaching you physically how to do, well, I am teaching you physically how to do the service and safety and things like that should be priorities in the shops and salons, so.
Those are not practical hours that you're describing?
Now, this would be theory, I would consider. I mean, you need to, before, if I'm a licensed professional, right, and I'm bringing in a student from a barber school, I would assume that the school would show you how to operate a chair, kind of, sort of. That kind of goes with the theory, I guess. I don't know, it's just, I've always had a hard time with all we're going to teach is theory, and then I'm going to shoot you to the professional to teach the practical, because I believe the theory and the practical kind of go hand in hand, you know what I'm saying? So it's hard for me to say, read this, and then I'm not going to touch the whole other part of it, So that's just me. I'm on the soapbox this morning, but yeah, I would like to think that there is a little bit of equipment there to be able to kind of teach concepts and kind of make sure that you understand the theory part. To make sure that you understand the theory part, there's a little bit of, I don't want to say practical because you're not supposed to be doing practical, but that goes with the theory though, I think. But anyway, that's just an opinion. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve this school with some noted changes of graduation requirements.
Also, before we second, on that floor plan, I do want to request that some info, because right now, the inspector is just walking into a blank room. And so, like, for the specialty schools, because it is wide open, new school owners are, running with that. And so if he goes in, there's nothing, where does it say, are they gonna just stand up and do theory? Like, just, I guess, putting a little detail into it. Putting a little bit more detail into the floor plan, because just putting the letters in the spaces, it doesn't give the inspector anything to go by.
Thank you. Ms. Russell, you had a motion by Ms. Amy Tansley and a second by Mr. Perry Baldwin. That motion can die or you can amend your motions, but that motion is on the table. I apologize. I just wanted to make sure we got the motion right and then can start over, however you decide. The only thing I can clarify on the apprenticeship, this isn't a specialty school, right? Your specialty schools are your natural hair, your aesthetics, your manicure, your eyelash, that would fall under the aesthetics. The curriculum is taught through apprenticeship, right? And so we've seen floor plan. I think we have a school that's using a room in a church. Right, so we haven't seen equipment in the classrooms, because that's what they are, as a classroom. But if we're wanting her to draw this, that, we'll need that clarity once the motion is resolved.
Just what's in the classroom. I'm not looking for like shampoo bowls or stations, but the classroom setup, like is he walking into, just an empty room, or if he's walking into desk, tables, however it's, whiteboard, storage area.
Okay, then I'll amend my motion to approve this school application with enhanced floor plan detail added and also the graduation requirements
And the curriculum?
and the curriculum.
I had those notes, thank you.
So, Ms. Forte, just to be clear, the motion currently, we have not approved or denied. The motion currently would include that you correct the curriculum, that you would add a little more detail into your floor plan, including if you have tables and chairs or storage areas, if you would draw those into your blueprint, and
Provide more detail about the graduation requirements, just with where the hours are being obtained, and of course,
so clarifying the graduation requirements. So that is the motion as it stands. We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
I
Motion
apologize.
carries.
We will need a new motion. Mr. Baldwin, are you,
Sorry, the motion was amended, so then we need a new second because the motion has changed to then move forward.
Second.
Okay, let's try that again. Now we have a motion to approve by Ms. Tanksley, a second by Mr. Perry Baldwin. All in favor? Aye. Congratulations, motion carries. Congratulations on your new school.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
thank you, Ms. Forte. You'll send those updates to me whenever you've got them. Thank you, ma'am. Members, you're on page 250 of your iPads. This is Cure Advanced School of Cosmetology. It is a new apprenticeship school. This school has operated as an aesthetic school until now. Ms. Malia Hendricks is probably on the call with us. This school is located in Memphis. You have the application, floor plan, enrollment agreement, catalog and contingency plan were provided. Again, this full floor plan reflects separate rooms with equipment for the aesthetics, because she's had that school prior to now. The apprenticeship is being added for cosmetology only, and I'll turn it over to you, Ms. Russell. Ms. Hendricks is on the call with you.
Ms. Hendricks,
Hello.
welcome.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Would you like to tell us a bit about your school?
Sure. We have the aesthetics program. We've been open for about 5 years now, and I feel that we've made a great impact in our community. We've graduated roughly over 400 students, and we just continue to grow and expand, and that led us to looking at opening the cosmetology portion of the program, and hoping that that has just as great of impact as aesthetics has. I've been in the industry for about 20 years. I started off as a cosmetologist, so this is very near and dear to my heart, and I'm excited to finally get a chance to have a bit of that inside of our school, and of course, one day be able to open a full cosmetology program.
all right, so you are applying for a cosmetology apprentice program.
Correct. I was just adding that one day, we would love one day to move our location to be able to have a full cosmetology program. Of course, I understand I'll have to go through an application process and all of that. That was just me speaking and being transparent.
No, I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right thing. Your floor plan includes a lot of things. That's your current aesthetics program.
Correct. So I know Ms. Roxana, you and I were kind of going back and forth. And so what we're doing is we're using one of our classrooms that's open, that's not currently being used for aesthetics, for the theory of the cosmetology apprenticeship program. And we will have signage as well on the door and all of that to specify that that classroom is just for that program.
Got it. Thank you.
This apprenticeship will be taught in-house, and the theory portion will be in your school. You're not doing virtual options, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, I'd like to take a look at your clock hours in weeks or months to graduate. I did the math several times and I can't make it work. It appears that the hours add up to 1125, no matter how I work it, and I couldn't figure out if you were trying to say the theory portion or the theory and the practical once they're in a salon would take that long. Either way, it doesn't work. It doesn't add up to 750 or 1500. So you'll need to rework your math to figure out the number of weeks to graduation.
May I ask, are you looking at the enrollment contract or are you looking at the handbook?
This one is your page 1. I think that's the enrollment agreement.
Correct. Okay. So I did notice that as we were on the call, it looks like when I revised everything, for some reason, I ended up putting that in there. That was the maximum amount time, which is also located in our catalog. So that was my mistake. We do have it at, I believe it's 12.5. I would have to go back to my catalog to make sure. But we actually have the correct hours in the catalog, but that was my mistake. I was doing some copying and pasting and didn't correct that portion for that max time frame.
Okay, so the length of the cosmetology apprenticeship should be calculated based on this student has perfect attendance. We want to know with perfect attendance they can graduate in X number of weeks. I feel like this should either be a certain number of weeks in theory and then a certain number of weeks in their salon location. You could list it that way, or you could say 1,500 hours would be completed in X number of weeks. That is completely up to you and your business side. They just need to know that they're not going to be going to school for 4 years or whatever, that if they have good attendance, that this is the length of time that it would take to graduate.
Correct. I understand. And like I said previously, on page 8 of our catalog, if you don't mind just taking a quick look, just so I can be clear that I do have it listed correctly, I'm happy to go ahead and correct that in our enrollment contract as well. I just want to make sure that we're looking at the same thing because, as I mentioned previously, we um, have it listed correctly in there in the catalog. That was just my mistake that it wasn't correct. Just so we have some clarification.
Page 273, but it does still show 1125.
It's still, yes. So if you do the math.
If you look up on the page, go up to where it says cosmetology, that's under the max time allowed in the program, that 1125. But if you go up under satisfactory academic progress policy, you'll see where it says cosmetology, 375 hours at 12.5 weeks. And then for the whole 750, it's 25 weeks.
What is 375 hours?
It just breaks down the amount of time it would take to complete 375 hours, which some of this stuff, just to be honest with you, is what THEC requires us to have in the catalog. So if it looks a little strange, I'm so okay with changing it. But a lot of our policies and procedures in the catalog is for either NACIS or THEC. So we've had to add in and remove and all of that, but it does specifically show 750 hours at 25 weeks.
I think that I would prefer that you remove 375 hours altogether because that isn't relative to anything that would happen in cosmetology.
Okay, no problem. I can do that.
Your contingency plan, can you tell me about the contingency plan?
Yes, if anything should happen, if the school should close for whatever odd reason, the way that we're structured, because we are only doing theory, we would move to a secured online platform. And that would allow us the time to grab a new location if we do have to rent something of that nature. If I do have to partner with another school to offer the class, we would absolutely do that as well. But for right now, we do have it to where we would move to that secured online platform for that short period of time to ensure that we have a secured location for the students to move into.
And in the event that your school completely closed, lock, stock, and barrel, it's gone away, what institution would you partner with in order to ensure that your apprentice students would attend another institution?
It would be Empire Institute here in Memphis.
Okay, so you would need to list that, and they,
285.
okay, on 285, perfect. I would ask you to look at your contingency plan again as well, just to ensure that you are very clear in-house as well as with the students. It says in your contingency plan that no additional cost or charges, the students would incur no additional cost and charges. However, they might have to pay Empire if that's where they were headed. So unless your school wants to absorb those costs and charges, I just think that telling them that it wouldn't cost anything if they left your school, or if your school closed, they might be sadly mistaken to find out that another school would not take them and not charge them to go to school.
Oh, understood. And that's terrible. I've actually witnessed that happening. So I will definitely go back and change that and make it very clear.
Board members, do you have additional questions?
Is this school already accredited? The
Yes, ma'am.
cosmetology piece, we're adding cosmetology, correct?
So they are.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You can answer this question.
I apologize. Yes, ma'am, we are already accredited. We've been accredited for about 2 years now, and we are just adding in the cosmetology apprenticeship program.
Okay. And so students will be able to receive Title IV funding as soon as you all are approved through the state today?
Yes, ma'am.
Accreditation committees typically, if a school is in good standing, if they would like to add an additional course, then they can. It has to go through an approval process with them. So if we wanted to add to aesthetics to our school, then we would go through, there's a lengthy bunch of paperwork that has to be done. But if they approve, because we're already in good standing as a school, then yes, we can immediately offer financial aid.
Did I miss, where are the professionals that your apprentice students are going to be working with for the rest of their hours?
So I did email that over to Miss Roxana. It looks like it missed getting in here. But I know that we made a lot of changes, some things I needed to correct. So I'm assuming that within the changes, maybe that page got left behind. But I do have Miss Nikita Green. She's licensed actively in cosmetology since 2012. And she's at the Crazy About Hair salon here in Memphis. And that was all on that documentation, but it looks like it didn't get added to the final application.
Did you receive that? Do you know?
I can't tell you how many times I go back and forth
I
with the
know,
documents.
I
have,
assumed.
however, I have the school owners approve what you're going to be seeing. So Ms. Hendricks and I probably both missed it.
Okay.
As long as I have it and whatever other corrections you all ask her to do, then we will continue. But the application that you see is what she finally approved. So we've somehow dropped that name.
That's okay. It needs to be added before it would be finalized. I'd like to make a motion to approve this school with those needed additions.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve with the needed revisions. This would take into consideration the clock hours, weeks and months to graduate, weeks or months to graduate, the contingency plan, issues with the additional charges,
And the addition of the professionals.
and the addition of the salon professionals that will partner with your school. With those changes, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, members. We have one more school, and then I think what we will do is break over to legal so that Mr. Underhill can get on with his day. The last school that you have before you starts on page 287. This is Empower Health and Beauty Academy. You have here a very simple also revised floor plan. This is for a new school that was approved in October of 2025. The school is located in Antioch. Ms. Amos has been on the call, and so she's here to answer any questions you have. Again, because the school was recently approved and all her documents were approved, all you're really looking at is the updated floor plan because she's had to, I believe, move instead of just make changes. But I'll turn it over to Ms. Amos and to you, Ms. Russell.
Ms. Amos, welcome. Would you like to tell us a bit about your new location?
Great morning. How you all doing today? It's not a lot of changes. Instead of being on the other side, there were some electrical issues that was going on the other side that was initially approved. So I'm wanting to move everything over to the 5360 side, which is next door. So the barber would be on the first and second level, and the esthetician will be on the third.
I would like to talk a little bit about your blueprint. So it appears that this is clinical space on the first and second floors, and that those barbers are in individual rooms. Is that correct? Your barbering students?
Yes.
Can you tell
But
me?
the doors are open. It's laid out where they're individual, because initially they were going to be classrooms, but it's actually open. The doors.
Can you tell me, do you feel like they will be affected by the instructor's ability to circulate through a first and second floor and into individual rooms while they have clients? So do you think that it's going to cause an issue in observing students with their clients and maybe helping them out when needed?
No, I don't, because it'll be more than one instructor. So we'll have two instructors on the top level and one instructor on the bottom level.
Can you tell me where your classroom space is?
The classroom space is on the bottom level, on the third floor.
Okay.
It's actually two theory rooms on the third level.
Board members, do you have additional questions?
I said, would this be a question for legal? Like, so I know you got, for a classroom, you got to have an enclosed classroom for every student attending. So what, is there anything in there? I know you got to have a chair and a mirror for every student that's attending on the clinic floor, but this doesn't seem like there's a dedicated clinic floor here. So that one's kind of confusing to me. I don't know what I have to look at the rule.
It will be on the third level. There's a big open area in the middle, and that's what that will be.
For the clinic floor for all your barbers?
Mm-hmm.
So what is this on the first and second floor? So it looks like you have 4 chairs on the first floor, 4, 5, 6, 7 chairs on the first floor.
Yes.
You got 8 chairs on the second floor.
But we have an open Yeah, we have an open area on the bottom level.
And that's for your classroom, correct?
Two theory classrooms are on the third level, and then we have the clinical on the third,
You got another,
on the first floor. Yes, it's on the first floor. I'm getting myself confused.
I'm right there with you. You got me right there in the
I'm
mix with you.
sorry.
So we don't have one dedicated space for a clinic floor. That's my question to you.
Correct.
No.
And the rules do not have that requirement. So I'm looking at the exact rule right now, and it says for all schools other than specialized schools as described in subparagraph 4C, the floor plan shall provide for and the school shall contain at least 2,200 square feet of instructional floor space, including an enclosed classroom for theory instruction. So the one specific requirement that we need to have delineated on the school floor plan is the enclosed classroom.
Gotcha. That's what I thought it read something similar to that. Thank you for your clarification, Joe. Well,
I as well read through the law, and I can't say that this is, I mean, Joe just said it's not against the law. I'm just, I would have a hard time as an effective instructor going room to room to ensure that all of my students, that's my issue with this. I don't know. I mean, they may do a phenomenal job. I'm thinking about the way that my classroom was set up and we were divided. We had kind of back-to-back stations, and going from one side to the other was difficult for me, to ensure that I could see everybody at the same time. So I can't even imagine having individual rooms with students in them. I can't say that it's not against the law. It's just, just an unusual setup considering the floor plans that we typically see.
so would this be something that us as a board need to kind of revisit and maybe re-specify so that way we don't run into issues moving forward? That would just be a question.
I can't say one way or the other if it's going to be effective or not. So I would have a hard time, making a rule on something that I've just never seen it before.
Right.
That doesn't mean that it won't work.
Exactly. Okay, understood.
I mean, I think I can say just, I've been in a variety of schools as of late. I think most of them are trying to retrofit into existing space. And I have been into more schools that have lots of smaller rooms. It is different. They all do it differently. I don't know what's better or worse, but I guess I'm no longer surprised at what I'm seeing out there that works.
I know aesthetics is gonna be on the third floor, or is that the third?
Yeah.
Third floor.
The
How
third
do
floor, correct.
students get from each floor?
There are steps from the third floor. You come down steps
Okay.
and walk into the main floor.
So, what plans do you have for students that are unable to, use the steps, climb the steps?
The third level, we have
Have
those
a
that
aesthetic
one theory
student.
room. Yes.
If you have an a student who wants to enroll into the aesthetics program, but they are in a wheelchair or, they can't, utilize the steps, what, provisions do you have for those students?
That's where the third level.
I'd like to have legal to weigh in on this. Is that something that's even within our purview?
So my understanding is this is a provision from the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act. So that would be the federal government or, zoning regulations with the city as far as, the approval of the building. As far as our specific jurisdiction goes, we're looking at the curriculum, the floor space, and to make sure they meet our criteria. So although it is a genuine consideration, we would want to make sure that any student trying to get the aesthetics program degree has the ability to learn there, it wouldn't be something that we have the jurisdiction to withhold a school application on. Obviously, it's a business decision for them. They want to be able to take care of their students, but outside of our specific jurisdiction.
Okay, and I think that's where I was running in that
We-
ADA and Title IV.
We can put it on the first, on that first level. We can make accommodations on the main level.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the floor plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this floor plan. Again, this is just a change of location based on the floor plan that we had previous, and the school was already approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations and good luck in your new space.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Members, if you don't mind, we're going to switch from the presentation over to the legal report that is on your iPads. And then we'll come back to the continuing education group. This way, Mr. Michael Underhill will go through the complaints. These redacted complaints were emailed to everyone. I'll give you a minute to make the switch. Michael, I'll turn it over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Roxana. Good morning, Board. We have 63 cases on today's legal report, consisting of 6, represents, 8 barber cases, and 49 cosmetology cases. I do need to note before we open it up for questions on item number 48, a cosmetology case. I want to add to that recommendation, since there is an allegation of unsanitary conditions, to inspect for that. So that recommendation will read, letter of warning, unprofessional conduct for not providing a response, and then inspect for unsanitary conditions. Outside of that, I'm ready for questions. And also, since we're obviously amending based on that item number 48, at some point I would need a motion to adopt the legal report as amended.
Mr. Malcolm Reed, wow, I can't even speak today. Michael Reed has made a motion to adopt as amended.
Second.
Mr. Baldwin has a second for that motion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. This was very well put together.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Members, thank you so much. That was a quick shift. We'll head back into our presentation. I'll give everybody a minute. And we are looking at the sessions for 2026. These start on page 294 of the iPads. Give me a minute. The first item, and we've got 2 new members, so I'll just kind of recap. Continuing education by rule has to be approved by the board every year, and so those providers that have been offering it the year before send me the agenda, date that they would like. The board has said that 2 dates per provider is about all that is needed, just to balance out the year and to be fair to all the different providers. So you'll see first the providers that have been offering their information. So you don't see a lot of marketing material or their bios or things like that, because they've been offering it for many years. And so I will start with the University of Tennessee. You have before you the information for UT Conference Center. They've submitted the instructor seminar date for 2026, and they're asking for Sunday, July the 19th, and then Monday, July the 20th. This is an in-person session. If you have any questions, let me know. Several of our providers won't be joining us because they're used to just getting the date approval. The other item, just for our new members in particular, providers have to submit evaluations for their sessions. I need those in less than a week after the session. Most of them are very good about submitting those. That way, if there's any concerns, I would bring it before the board. If we thought that session didn't go well or had any things that needed to be changed, we would address it then. But if the evaluations are all great or close to great, 4.5 to 5, then I don't have any concerns and they come before you.
Do we have any new?
You do. The last two are new. Well, one is new and the other one is the continuing education provider that is doing online only, Rocket Search, and I believe you weren't here at the last meeting, so this might be new to you, but I did send it to the members. So the first 4 or 5 are our providers that have been offering it for several years. Thank you.
Do these need approval individually?
Yes, please. So the first one you have is the continuing education at UT Knoxville. I would need a motion and a second to approve.
I make a motion to accept.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. All
We
those,
have- We have a motion and a second to approve these, and I will abstain from the vote. All in favor? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. Page 396, this is the Confident Educator. Ms. LaShawn Thompson has offered this session also several years. She is asking for January the 18th and 19th, as well as April the 12th and 13th, and this session is virtual.
I make a motion to approve.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next session is Beauty School University LLC. This is Ms. Destiny Cox. She also has been offering the session for a very long time. I believe she is on the call. If she's not, we will continue. The dates that she is requesting are April 19th and 20th and November 15th and 16th.
This is online or in person?
Hers are online, virtual.
I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Members, on page 306, this is KINCC Education Group. This is Ms. Kimberly Anderson. Her instructor continuation request is for 2 different dates. The online component, and by online I mean virtual, to where the instructor's on Zoom that is teaching it. I generally participate as well, and so are all the students. The date is January 25th and 26th, and then she has an in-person and virtual option. The location is to be determined. The date she's asking for is June 7th and 8th.
I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, members. Starting with page 309, this is Innovative Teaching Methods for Today's Educators. The course is taught by Mr. Thomas James. He also, like the previous ones, have been offering the continuing education sessions each year. He's asking for 2 dates to be approved, February 23rd and 24th, and October 11th and 12th.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And we do have a new provider. Bearing Fruit is our new provider. You have before you, starting on page 315, information for Ms. Charlize Kinslow. This is continuing education, and she is requesting 1 date. The members have in the past for our new providers just approved 1 date for that first time, and if a member can attend, and our new members can also check with me if you have any interest in attending these sessions. That way you also have an idea of what they're doing, and that way the following year they could be approved for 2 dates. You have all her information before you. The date that she's asking for is July 26th and 27th.
Make a motion for approval.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And I know Ms. Kinslow was going to try to have her class, it may be that they're watching, so hopefully that's the case, and she's excited. Thank you, members. The next item on your iPads is going to start on page 319. This is Rocket Cert Online Continuing Education. Ms. Hallie Woods presented at the last meeting. It's the 16 hours of an approved course. The members asked several different questions. The presentation you have is answering the questions. Is Ms. Woods here? No, okay. I was able to email the members, I believe I emailed you all maybe 2-3 weeks before the meeting as soon as she sent the information to follow up for any members that wanted to get online and see how this worked. I'm not sure if anyone, I didn't get feedback.
There we go.
Can you hear
Sorry,
me, Ms. Woods?
Roxana, I am here. Yes.
Good, thank you. You might have been able to hear me, so I kind of recapped that at the last meeting. They had some questions that you've presented, everything, which is what they have on their iPads that you knew I'd be showing them. I didn't get any response or inquiries to see if any of our members were able to log in. This course is strictly online, and so I'll turn it back over to you, Ms. Russell, for any questions that you have.
You are able to?
Yeah, I went into it.
Okay, we have a board member who was able to go into it. I'd like to hear about that.
I was impressed with the quality that I saw. The question I have is on the basic instructional modules. Are they intended to replace a live instructor?
Yes. So basically, this course would be completely asynchronous. So we have the content built into each of those lessons that you saw. And then we also have the audio narration if you had the volume turned up. So in lieu of the actual instructor, teaching from a PowerPoint virtually or in person, we have the narration occurring, timed out as we talked about. So this would be an asynchronous version of what they would get from an instructor in person.
So at least in theory, the modules, when they were put in place, corresponding with the blocks of instructions, could be marketed, utilized, and adopted to the point that the necessity for a live instructor is no longer there. Is that correct?
I'm not sure if that's something that I would specifically be able to answer. I think there's pros and cons to each side of that. The asynchronous learning we've done, cosmetology, barber, instructor, esthetician, board approved courses for many states now. And we just find it offers that extra flexibility. If people have, families that they're taking care of, if they have vacations that might be overlapping with some of these virtual or in-person seminars, just giving that extra layer of flexibility. It's completely self-paced, so if they can only do 10 minutes a night because they're very busy, it gives them the opportunity to do that. If they need more breaks than they could get in person without disrupting the presentation, they can take those as needed. So I think it's more of an alternative rather than a replacement in my eyes, but I don't know if that's really for me to say. I hope that clarifies.
So these are not dates we're approving. This would be available anytime to anyone to do at their own pace. Okay, that's pretty cool.
The only thing that I do want the members, and I think at the last meeting, since you weren't here, Ms. Tanksley, I'll just add, Ms. Woods also understood. The board does not get notified of any 5 minutes, 2 hours until the 16 hours are met. We would not be notified because we will update the instructor's license file only when the 16 hours are there. And so the provider is going to need to figure a way to once a month on a specific date that we can agree on. It won't be the last day of the month because some of our instructors procrastinate and don't get it done ahead. And so I don't want to see them in a situation where they couldn't renew the license, right? And so we'll set that date. Only at that point will we get the notice of who's taken the full 16 hours.
Yeah,
if that
makes sense.
I wanted to add one more thing. For a lot of these other states, we actually do submissions every single business day. So if you guys said you wanted it once a week, we can do that. If you said you wanted it every time somebody completed it, we would do it the next business day. So we're well versed with whatever type of reporting schedule you want to ensure those aren't late.
I was under the impression that that was supposed to be done within the 2 days. The 16 hours were to be completed within 2 days. Was that in our last conversation?
I don't know that we have anything that requires that. Because as she stated, and as the program allows you, you can do just 5 minutes. But if you're wanting them to finish it in 16 hours, then Ms. Woods will have to explain if that can be, if their technology can work that way. I know that for the board, we only want to see the list once a month, definitely not, we want to, maybe the 25th, we'll just pick that date. And that's when we would see everybody that's finished it. But at least based on the technology, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Woods, I don't know that someone doing it online can be forced to get it done within 2 days, if that's what the board would like to see.
But the legal requirement is 16 hours in 2 years.
Correct. That is
So there's nothing that says it has to be done.
That is
in-
100% correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was my question, because I know Milady, does it as well, so the, CEUs for other states, but it hadn't been in our state, so this would be similar to what they offer, but I didn't understand if it was legally required to have it done in those 2 days, 2 8-hour days.
I think this is really exciting.
So basically.
And I know, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to touch, I know you said there might be one board member that wasn't here last time, and I did see one of you guys progress through a little bit of the course, but just wanted to touch on anybody who did view the course with those practice logins. Those are going to be accessible indefinitely. So anybody at any point can go in if they want to check out the course. There's a couple different logins that can be used. And as well as that, I put the regulatory compliance. So as far as all the board rules that are currently in place, I agree. I didn't see that they needed to be completed in the 2 days. So just wanted to speak on that. Thank you.
I did go on the course as well. I'm not sure what I was supposed to be looking for, but I did complete some of the courses to make sure that I could. I'm not sure if I was idle and I don't know what happened when I didn't, I think it kind of maybe timed itself out. I was trying to see if I could skip ahead and all of that, because I heard y'all say that, and I wasn't able to do that in that course. But I did get on there. I was impressed, but I did get on there as well. I don't know.
So basically, we have 2 years to complete 16 hours worth of continued education, so I can do it 5 minutes at a time if I want to. Shoot.
Yeah, and we do add a lot of interactive components just so that if they did leave for, 10 minutes, just to kind of re-engage and get them, interacting with the actual content. And you might have been timed out. I didn't catch your name, but some of the security features that I had altered so that you guys were able to get in. I know we talked about, we have the facial ID verification, those will be turned back on, and we can set a timer for when those would basically time out and require them to show their face again so that we can verify identity. So those are available at any duration that you guys prefer.
Just so for those of you all that may be new to the board, we had approved a similar continuing education course several years ago. And during the course of that, we found out that there were people who were doing it very quickly. So I decided that I asked for a login, and I went on there, and I was able to complete my 16 hours of continuing education in exactly 17 minutes. By manipulating the system, I was able to speed through videos, things like that. So we discussed that at the last board meeting with her to ensure that these things would not be possible with this education. The added level of security of facial recognition, which she will turn on, I feel like that's going to be very helpful. This is what PSI uses for our state board exams. For those that choose to take a state board exam at home, then they are using facial recognition software to ensure that that happens. So I would definitely want that to be possible. The other question that I have about this is we kind of talked about if a person ran into a problem with they couldn't get logged in, they have technical issues, whatever the case might be. If they were to call your call center, could they get a hold of a live person, and during what hours would that be available?
I can reiterate that as well. I'd be happy to. So, Thanksgiving weekend was a great example of this. So our weekend support are non-hours. Basically, if they call in 8 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, besides holidays, they would get to speak to a real person. They could even ask for me directly, the person who built the courses. We're a very small office. We're in Knoxville. There's about 14 of us here. But we also have a live chat. So if they just go to our website, that live chat will connect them with a real human. It doesn't even go through an AI bot before it gets to us. And then our email. So even on the weekends, I was on Thanksgiving morning and Thanksgiving evening, just checking for kind of more of the emergency items if they get locked out. If they forget their password, things like that. Those are the things that we still address even on the weekends via email, or if they leave a voicemail, we give them a call back. So very easy to get a hold of us. Of course, if it's anything that we need to escalate to the board, we would do that, through the proper channels. We don't advise on board rules, legal things, anything like that, just with support on our course and any questions on the content, or if there's any feedback they have for us.
I've been pretty happy with the answers that have been provided from this group. They have talked to me about, chatbots and the facial recognition software, all of the things that I would think are needed. The one thing that I might like to see is that these courses might be completed during times when a staff member could return a phone call or whatever. So having it during regular business hours for them, rather than 2 o'clock in the morning where I have to wait until, the next day or Monday morning or whatever. I think if they could limit the time frame to times that they could respond within a 2-hour time frame to those having issues, that would make me feel more comfortable with this group. If by chance something happened and someone got 15 and a half hours in and your company went out of business or whatever happened, technology was not available, what would be your policy in rectifying this with the people who've paid for this 16-hour course?
That is a great question. So I guess I'll give an example of a couple other states. So with Minnesota, we actually broke our content hours into individual courses. So if they go to our website and they buy the full package, it puts them into, let's say, 8 different courses at 2 hours each or whatever it may be. So if that is something that you guys are looking for more flexibility as far as submitting incremental hours to ensure that nobody, gets to 15 hours and gets no credit, that is very easily done. So I guess whatever you guys are looking for as far as how we report completion, we are happy to do. I just don't want to guarantee something to them that would not be acceptable by the board if we submit, 15.5 hours. So yeah, we're happy to separate that into even individual hours, or, some of the topics are 2 hours, 3 hours long, depending on how long the topic is. So would love
So my
some,
concern
maybe some, go ahead.
My concern is not, because we don't want to know unless they've completed the 16 hours. It's an all or nothing kind of thing for us. My concern is if something happened with your company and this was no longer available, if somebody has paid for that, because I think we saw this in previous times that we approved this, then all of a sudden their hours couldn't be counted because they had completed it in 17 minutes or whatever the case might be. And then we said, we're not going to accept those hours. And then there was kind of some legal concerns because the people had paid for those hours and now they don't count. And not only that, they were beyond their time frame for getting classes in before their 2 hours or their 2 years expired. It was a really big mess. I just don't want us to run into a mess again. So would they, for instance, received their money back, would you, I don't know how you would rectify that, but I just want to ensure that.
I have two things that come to mind. First of all, we can set an expiration notice on the course. So we can send them a reminder email and have a big banner on the course that says, hey, you need to finish your hours, or this course will expire the end of this year if it's only approved for one calendar year. So we can set that expiration reminder. Also, our company's refund policy with continuing education, if they have not received their certificate, and even if they say, oh, there's one typo, I don't like this course, I want my money back, they get refunded. So as far as the refund policy, if something doesn't go right and they don't get their credit with the state, that's 100% refundable with Rocket Cert.
What happens now if someone signs up for any of these courses that we've just approved and they can only attend like one of the days? Like they get sick or there's an emergency and they finish a portion. How do we handle that now?
That is a great question, and it has happened. It's up to the provider to hopefully issue them a refund, and I have seen several of our providers make that gesture and refund them half of the money. The instructor is a little bit in a bind because they've got to find a session before their 2 years' time and their renewal is up. If they've not had an extension before, on a couple of cases, we've extended their time to be able to take it. It doesn't happen often, but sometimes with technology, they've had issues or an illness, right? So they've still got to be able to complete it within the 2-year renewal cycle or ask for an extension if it's allowed. But it is up to the provider to issue a refund. The board wouldn't have the discretion.
And for them to figure out where to get the additional hours that they have not. I mean, I love the
Correct.
fact, thinking of this, that we've approved multiple dates for each of these providers. So worst case, someone can't attend half of one session, they could attend half of another, per se, with the same provider. But if they needed to go to a different provider, they would just need to figure out how to do that.
Correct.
For half the hours, so to speak.
Right, whatever's pending. They would arrange it with that other provider.
So would you, I guess this would be the same if, I mean, I guess you pay for the whole course up front, correct, Haley?
Ms. Woods, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Did you guys hear my response yet?
No.
The answer was yes. The answer was yes. But that brings up another good point. If you want, if since we are the first online asynchronous, if we want to, also add an 8-hour option for people who have instances that come up and they, only need to fulfill a second half, this could be an alternative to that. So that's also an option and a good point.
That's interesting. It's a lot of flexibility. I mean, we would approve this for a year, so the end of 2026, the class would expire, so you wouldn't have 2 years. This would be a 1 year as we renew everyone. That's interesting. But you pay up front for the whole course for all 16 hours. And if you, okay,
So I guess it depends on the board's procedure. If you guys are approving us as a CE provider for the entire content, and then we have the ability to basically chunk it out to whatever hours a student might need, that would allow some accessibility, for anything that comes up. But if you're only approving as the 16-hour stands, then I guess just need some clarification on that.
All the options.
I think in the past, you just didn't have those options. So if I went with a CEU provider, that's who I went with, and that's who I got all 16 hours for. Now, when we go to approve this, now you run into those issues where you might only get a partial, you might only get some of the 16 hours and not basically all of it,
As an aside, attorneys, we have continuing education hours. Obviously, I'm not going to say these professions are the same, but just as another example, we have these electronic CE hours. You pay for like the package up front. As a licensee, you do hold responsibilities, right? So I know when my license expires, I know what criteria I need to meet to maintain an active license. So if I buy my pack, if you will, of continuing education courses, they're available to me. If I don't finish them for any reason by the date, at least for the legal profession, you would then be seeking permission for an extension, paying a penalty fee or whatever. So it kind of goes hand in hand. The licensee does obviously have the responsibility to make sure deadlines are met. But just wanted to say, as far as paying for a package up front and then the individual being responsible to follow through and complete those modules after, that is the exact model that attorneys use for our continuing education. Just as more information to consider.
I think that for my own, just the way that I think about things, I think that facial recognition software must be used, which she said she has, but I'd like to ensure that that is used, that these are completed within regular scheduled business hours for this group, so that if there are IT issues, they would be able to return those. If that is 8 to 6, Monday through Friday, if that's the time frame, if they want to extend that time frame, that's fine, but I want all questions or issues to be resolved within a 2-hour time frame. And then a minimum of 2 years of access for that person, so that since they have 2 years to complete it, if they were to go this route, that they would have 2 years to complete, that it would remain open to them for 2 years. Those are the things that I would request.
I do have a follow-up on that. We don't advertise a course being available when it's not approved by the state. So for us to say you're purchasing 2-year access when we're not technically approved with you guys for the 2027 year, I guess that would be my only qualm with that specification. But if that's how you want us to advertise it, I just want to make sure we're not stepping on any toes by saying you have 2-year access, but we're only approved for this calendar year.
Also, too, you got to think about if I need, let's say, I need my CEUs before 2026, which is a month away. You know what I'm saying? I don't need 2 years. I need the week. I need this month to finish it up.
Then I think maybe a disclosure, just ensuring that there's a disclosure for the person purchasing this, that this is the date that will end. Your access will end on this date. I just want to make sure that they don't, and you said that you can send them reminders that it needs to be completed by a certain date. That would be very helpful. I just don't want them to purchase something and then, them not be able to use it.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I misunderstood what you were saying. Our courses come with lifetime access. So if they bought our CE and it's still approved in 2027 and they haven't even opened it yet, we roll them over into the renewed version of the course. So if at the December of 2026 meeting you guys approve us, we will automatically move those students into the next approved version of the course. And if it's not approved for some reason, then they get a direct reach out. If they have not completed the course, they get a refund.
I agree with everything that Becky said. I love that you can have the available course. I mean, technology allows for so many things. I would say I do love the fact that this course is available off hours for people who are working full-time and could do it after work or on the weekends. I think that's a huge opportunity for professionals to get these hours, not during business hours.
I agree. That's one of our things that we get the most feedback on is how much people appreciate that. So I appreciate that note.
And she did state in the previous meeting that they would get back with them within 24 to 48 hours, which isn't a long time if you have 2 years to complete.
It's not a long time if you've got 2 years, but if it's due tomorrow, it's an eternity. So.
Yeah, I guess
try it. So I'm gonna put a motion out there that we approve this for the 2026 year, and we see how it goes.
And now second. Yeah.
We have a motion and a second to approve this for the year of 2026. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you guys so much. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Congratulations, Ms. Woods.
Thanks, Roxana.
Thank you, members. The only clarity that I think I need for me is we've not limited the time, right? So someone could take it at 10 p.m.? Is that correct?
That was my motion.
Okay, thank you. Members, we are on to our applications to test, and if you give me a minute, those. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to turn it over to Joe. Yes, since we skipped legal, he is correct. Just to give you a quick update on our rules.
I just wanted to let the board know that the rule package that we've been working on for the last year went in front of the Joint Government Operations Committee, received a positive recommendation from both houses. So those rules will go into effect as scheduled on December 24th. So we've officially hit every checkbox, and December 24th, those rules will go into effect. So just wanted to give you that piece of information.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, so now we will go on to our applications to test. We're on page 327. This first one's a little bit different for those of you that are newer on the board. Mr. Courtney Strickland is requesting that the board release his hours in order to obtain, test for and obtain his master barber license. The school he attended between 2005 and 2007 has been closed. Mr. Strickland obtained a license in 2009 through the military exemption. A complaint revealed that the DD 214 he used at that point in time was not actually, was not an actual DD 214. It was fraudulent. His license was revoked. He is requesting the board allow him to go to test and join the industry the correct way. He had, and I have spoken several times, he's very enthusiastic about studying and being able to complete this. As the members know, record retention is 7 years. For a long time, we have all of our schools that have been with us since 2015 have their hours saved electronically. Prior to 2011, we did not have scanning mechanism. Technology was quite different than it is today. So all that to say is I don't have proof that he completed the hours at this school based on information he's providing. He has submitted the attestation form saying that he completed the hours. And so you have that before you, but I don't have the actual monthly hours from him. And I think he's actually on page, I'm going to give you his page number so you can, thank you, 335. And so that's the attestation he's able to provide us with regarding his education. If the board approves it, he would have to take the Master Barber theory and practical exams. If you don't, he really doesn't have a way to go back to those hours.
Is this school open?
No, ma'am. I would be able to. It closed in 2009.
So the fraud that was, that got us in this position, the fraud was something about the military service?
It was the DD 214s. We revoked quite a few licenses. His was among them. They had fraudulent information. They were not a legitimate DD 214, which does qualify our military men and women to be able to obtain a license. His was not. And so he stated he went to school. Like I said, that school is closed. There's no way to really contact the owner. There's no presence in Tennessee of that school. So what he's wanting to do is go ahead and take the exams based on his affirmation of where he went and what he did.
Are these hours still even valid if they were finished in 2007?
Hours never stop being valid as long as they're done within 7 years. And actually, the barber statute back then didn't even have the 7-year limitation. Cosmetology always did. But he attested that he went between 2005 and 2007. And so, although I don't have the proof, given the technology, those hours would count. He would, whether he chooses to do a refresher course or not, that would be up to him. If the board approves him, he would be taking the exams.
So the PSI report that we're seeing here, this is from when he.
No,
what are we looking
his
at?
information starts on page 335. I apologize. And what you see after his
Okay.
attestation is the complaint information regarding the revocation, and his current information lists him as revoked.
And this is all we have.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have any precedent of what we've done in the past?
I believe we have similar situations where we couldn't obtain the hours and we've approved them. We have approved individuals that have been revoked to test. Almost always the hours are more current, and so we're able to pull them. These hours go quite a bit back, and so we're not. The revocation of these duty 214s in many cases included this school, hours from the school. And so it was at the time suspected that those students were going to school, just struggling with the exam. But that all had to do with the complaint process. So I couldn't say that he was in those that had completed or not, but that was part of the situation that went on with those complaints.
So I'm going to abstain, is that correct? From this whole situation? I mean, from this, I'm gonna abstain from this one.
Thank you, I've got
Yes.
that down. Thank you so much.
I have issues with this, and I'm struggling on the fence about this because he wants us to believe that he completed 1,500 hours in school, and possibly he did, but he also fraudulently provided forms before. So what's to say that this is not also a fraudulent document? And that's, you know, if there wasn't fraud before in obtaining the license, then this would have been a lot easier. It's just not clear cut now because there was fraud before. I have no idea if there's fraud again. This one, it's difficult.
I agree with you.
I got a question. Could you clarify, because I don't see it's on here, what fraud was before? What kind of fraud did he
So
do
the
before,
DD
so I can?
The DD 214, and we're blessed to have someone from the military with us. It documents begin date, end date, your social, your service, your address, you name it. It's got numbers in different places. It's a very long, detailed form. It caught our eye because there were misspellings. As you can imagine, there are no misspelled words in a DD 214. There was information that was not accurate, so someone went to a lot of trouble to falsify DD 214.
And essentially what that form states, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, that they received this specific field of training while in the military. So for instance, it would be this individual obtained barbering and sanitation studies while they were an active member in the military by this branch, and it certifies like, hey, this is every certification they achieved while they were a military member. And so essentially that form stated they received barber schooling or education that was not completed.
Yeah, and that would be kind of hard in this case to believe that you completed these hours with no proof, especially if you falsified documents before. So that's kind of, yeah, iffy for me too.
The only thing I want to add, and this goes back to historically, and Mr. Gillihan, I believe I'll quote him, and I know we miss him often, but a point he made often was they're working in the industry unlicensed if we don't approve them. So the debate that you have as a board is, do we see if they pass the exam to protect the public, or do we let them continue working? And I don't have the perfect answer for that because we can't provide clarity on the hours. In many other fraudulent situations with revocations, we have them go back to school in Tennessee, or at least I can see the hours in Tennessee, but that's because the individuals also said they didn't go to school, wherever the complaint process came from, if that makes sense. So.
Did he not have to test when
I
he
guess
was originally licensed? No, this
The DD
particular
214
military
allows you to not
allows
test.
him to just become licensed with no hours and no testing.
It's essentially reciprocity. The hours are being certified on the DD2.
Got it.
It's stating they've received the training, but within the military.
Got
And
it.
essentially, it's a reciprocity evaluation, very similar. So like, hey, you've received the training even though it wasn't by one of our licensed schools. This is good enough for us. We'll go ahead and approve you.
When was that turned in?
Well, that is still in our statute, so our reciprocity statute allows for that today. That complaint process,
No, his original, when did he turn in the fraudulent?
those complaints go back to, I believe, 2012, 2013 is when those revocations took place, shortly after I got here.
So he's saying he went to barber school before that?
Correct.
Oh,
So are we asking to retest? Is he retesting, or what are they asking us to do?
So his first license was from 2009. What he is telling us is that he went to school between 2005 and 2007, obtained his license in 2009. The revocation of these cases took place between 2013 and maybe even beginning of 2014. What he's asking us to do is release hours, put him into test. He has no proof that he's done the hours. The school is closed. There was no scanning mechanism at that point in time. So other than the attestation he's completed and stated that it's facts, he stated an instructor. I believe he knows at least one other instructor in the area that can, no one can truly vouch for 1,500 hours, but that knows or believes that he attended school. He is trying to join the industry to do things the correct way.
That opens another whole can of worms for me, because if he had gone to school, why would he even turn in a fraudulent document other than to not test? But if he attended these hours, then he should have been prepared to test the first time.
So to be clear, I'm abstaining my vote, correct? So I can still enter into the conversation?
As long as your information is objective.
Yeah.
It's not your personal opinion.
Oh, yeah,
And
definitely,
then you're
yeah.
abstaining from the approval process.
Okay.
I don't see an issue.
Okay, so I'm abstaining from the vote, but we had a lot of students. I worked at a barber school during this time, and we had lots of students that were enrolled in school, and when they got this information that they could go and get these fake documents, they went in and got that instead of completing a shortcut. And so I just had a someone just was telling me the other day about, oh, well, I want to go take my test now. But our school has been closed for numerous years. And so the question is, what should I do? Go to school. It's that simple. This is you made that choice. And so these are the consequences of your choices. But a lot of people were doing it. And it's, again, I don't know if we may start to see a lot of these cases again from those individuals because they are working in the industry unlicensed. But again, that's their consequence if they get caught by the inspector and then, get a fine or whatever.
there are so many barbers working unlicensed. So many.
It's a problem. It's a problem when you got students that just finished school and have not, did everything that they were supposed to do, held up their end of the bargain. Now they're working in barbershops. It's an issue. I got them right now, and I struggle with that. I struggle with that.
I agree with you. My question to the board and to the leaders of the board is, I understand the need to get licensed and do this the quote-unquote right way. 1,500 hours is a lot of hours. And we have hundreds, thousands of unlicensed professionals working in the industry. Putting them through just to test seems, I don't know what the right answer is here. I'd like to think that there's a way to become licensed. I'm not sure it's negating 1,500 hours. Do we make the recommendation? I mean, there's apprentice programs, this person appears to be in Memphis, there's apprentice programs where he can go do the 750 and start apprenticing to get his license. I don't know that I have an answer here. But I do think it's a very large problem. I assume that this person is currently working in a barber shop.
Let's not make assumptions on the record.
Fair, thank you.
However, I will say this, speaking with Roxana, she said if we look at this as a hypothetical scenario, in the past where individuals have sought permission to test and their school was closed, she advised me, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the board has given individuals those chances because they don't control the school as well to test and prove themselves capable of entering the industry. If there had not been previous fraud, that should have been the board's analysis. With the prior bad act and the revocation of a license, I do believe, and I'm not telling you how to decide this matter, I am saying that there is a factual basis that analysis change. Does that make sense? It's not a normal school closure. We cannot verify this. We cannot verify hours, but this individual has submitted fraudulent documentation to this body in the past. That is a material fact for you to weigh however you do. But I would say we want to stick with consistency in prior action as much as possible unless facts exist to separate this occasion from previous ones.
I'll make a motion to deny.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to deny this request. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, members. I hate to do that to you, but we're going to go backwards on your iPads, and on page 327, we will start with our felony pieces. You have two applications from with felony backgrounds. These applications are from Jacarius Dante Reynolds and Kelly Young. The applicants have a felony conviction within the last 3 years, or they have been incarcerated. They are requesting permission to take the exams and obtain licensure. As the board knows, we do a felony agreed order for 2 years probationary license. We're very fortunate that we received the information ahead of time and that the profession and the board has always gone with those agreed orders, and we've been able to license anyone. If you've got a question regarding either of these individuals, let me know. Otherwise, I would need a motion.
I make a motion that we move these applicants forward to test with the 2-year signed agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve these for testing. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. As we wind down on your iPads, on page 340 is our financial information. It shows as of September 2025 that the board is at a deficit of $5,212, leaving the reserve balance at $1,124,697. The October report came, I think, just as I was unplugging my computer for the Thanksgiving holiday. We're at a surplus, just barely, so we're tinkering right there. Nothing concerning. We will be probably working on rules here soon and look at rules to allow for the fee for the compact, the cosmetology compact that has been approved, so we can start offering those, and that would be in that package. But I don't believe with that we would consider fee raises for the program or the profession, given that our surplus is doing really well and that we have so many licensees. We go back and forth with really low numbers. So just wanted to give you that update. And members, we're on to new business. This is starting on page 342. This information was also sent to you via email ahead of time, just to give you, if you had nothing better to do, a quick read. This information is regarding what was presented at the last meeting. Ms. Lauren Davis came in person at October, presented information about online asynchronous education under their Murfreesboro school license. The board at that time had a lot of questions, requested data be provided. So you're looking at the information that she has submitted. Our attorney, Joe, who is fantastic, reviewed a lot of that information as well, tried to confirm some of the statistics, and then provide what he could to look at. So you've got some of the information from him. I'm going to turn it over to Joe, and I believe Ms. Davis is here in person as well to answer any other questions you have. And if the members did want to take a break, let me know. Otherwise, this is the last item on our agenda. Okay. Is 10 minutes enough? Okay, we're going to break for 10 minutes. I've got 11:45. We'll be back at 11:55. Thank you. I am going to get us back on the record. I've got 11:55. I know the rest of you are going to. That's okay. She's taking a break, but we do have, oh, Becky, bless your heart. Okay. As long as we have quorum, we're good, and we ended up with one extra member, so I can't thank you enough. We've got quorum for the record. I'm going to turn it over to our attorney, Joe, and we do have Ms. Davis here if you have any further questions. Joe? Thank you, sir.
Good morning, board. In this section, new business, the first 4 documents are my work or documents that I pulled from either Alabama or Texas's licensing boards. The documents after those first 4 pages, starting with 346, are the documents provided by Ms. Davis and Ms. England. With that being said, I figured you guys should start the conversation just to pick up from last time. The request in front of the board is to consider asynchronous distance education. I'll go ahead and open up the floor to you all, and then I can basically certify what I found from the states of Alabama, and then we just talk about the subject matter.
Hello there. I know y'all are about sick and tired of looking at us. Thank you so much for entertaining this proposal. And thank you for taking that extra time to go through and validate our work. We are excited to see the board has any further questions or what kind of conversation we'll have today.
So just as a summary and to zone in on the specific matter in front of the board, we are talking here about distance education and specifically asynchronous distance education. So this is teaching where students are not present physically in the school. It's usually virtual delivery. The board has previously approved virtual education underneath the synchronous context, which means the instructor teaching the course is on a live video feed present virtually as they are teaching the course to individuals. They are there present for questions, any issues that arise. There is a genuine back and forth between the instructor and the participants, either during the lecture or at the conclusion of the lecture, basically for questions and verification. Asynchronous is, and please let me know if I am over summarizing it, but asynchronous, to change it from that, is recorded videos. So essentially a lessons plan has been previously recorded. It is set virtually. You watch the video. It teaches you the lesson. The instructor is not actively teaching that lesson. Now, an instructor could theoretically be present somewhere else for email questions, but the lesson in and of itself has been pre-recorded. So that is how it is different than the learning modules that this board has approved in the past. I greatly appreciate them. They cited 4 states in their paperwork. For our purposes today and for time constraints, the 2 states, in my opinion, that operate closest to our fashion are the states of Texas and Alabama. Texas has approved asynchronous education for their distance learning portion of their curriculum, which, like ours, encompasses the theory portion of the curriculum. Texas does not allow distance education for the practical portion of their curriculum. Alabama is slightly different. Alabama has approved asynchronous education for their distance learning, just as Texas. However, I don't know why they did this, but they said distance education is limited to 50% of the curriculum. They did not specify that that is theory only. So theoretically in Alabama, you could have distance learning for practical. I don't know what that would look like, but underneath their laws and rules, it does not specify that it is theory only. So that is the crux of the question before you all. Please let me know if I've missed any details or over summarized something, but that is in front of you all right now. Yes.
Are those laws or rules?
So as of now, the state of Tennessee does not have laws or rules that straight prohibit asynchronous distance education. The board considers these applications, and it has been, again, I don't want to speak for the board, but my understanding is the board's consideration out of students being able to ask questions, having an instructor present to offer a higher level of education and educational discourse. This board has felt comfortable with approving synchronous education. I do not believe that is with an asynchronous presentation in front of you has approved an asynchronous course up to now. So the question, they have previously submitted an application that was approved by the board. I believe that was in front of the board in June of 2020.
Yes, sir.
In the language of that application that was approved by this board, they mentioned their distance education could be offered synchronously or asynchronously. That application has moved through the board. My understanding, based off of what you all spoke with us last time, although you received that authorization up to this point, you have stuck with synchronous. Is that correct?
That's correct.
They are now looking for the board's direction as to asynchronous, and then essentially you all will evaluate your options from that point. Great.
Correct. And I'll add just a few clarification points. So seat time and asynchronous defined by the Department of Education is actual seat time. So it's not from the time a student clocks in to begins work. It is actual productivity seat time in substantive and regular work. The institution, we were using synchronously virtual education for a little while. If you've used synchronously, you know that there are challenges that come along with that as well. Having students on Zoom, Google Meet, whatever that is, for 4 or 5 hours at a time can be difficult. So this is kind of a crosshair in between.
And then going back to those two states, if we look at the presentation, specifically 344, I think this document, in my opinion, is very detailed. This is offered by the state of Alabama. Essentially what Alabama has said is, hey, we are going to evaluate our distance education within the prism that NACUS, what does that stand for, Roxanne? National
Association of Council on Cosmetics.
Essentially, NACUS has established a nationwide framework for virtual education, and Alabama said, hey, look, this policy has been put in place by this national institution. If you want your courses for distance education approved by our board, here we are going to incorporate their requirements. So what you're looking at 344 is the NACUS requirements for distance education that Alabama has incorporated into their regulations. Texas has approached this matter on a much more case-by-case basis, and it goes through a more detailed inspection process. If you want to do asynchronous education, they essentially allow you to build the box. They will then evaluate the box and make a determination whether or not they find that to be acceptable. Alabama kind of provides with this policy a more bright line, detailed, upfront analysis for an applicant to follow, where Texas more does the work, grind, and approval after the application has been submitted as part of an inspection.
So if I could add, NACUS is the National Accrediting Commission of Career Arts and Sciences.
I apologize.
No, that's okay. They have, I was prepared for this because that's a great segue. They have 1,300 schools under their umbrella with 120,000 students, primarily being cosmetology, beauty, career students. That is their main segment of authorization.
The only other thing I want to add, and mostly Amy, because you weren't here last week, is in June 2020, we were under COVID. If those in the industry remember, the industry was closed for at least 6 weeks. We were handing out thermometers. It was a whole other thing. So we did not have an April meeting, but in June, we had a virtual meeting. And from then on, continued virtually, thank goodness, and had a lot of success. The board at that time did not define virtual or distance as synchronous or asynchronous. It was too early in our world of interpreting what that was. Since then, and probably even since August, the board dove into the instructor's need to be part of all of those hours, and that was addressed almost at each meeting, as schools have continually brought up the online component.
I know you all are probably tired from hearing from me, but there are a couple of guideposts that I do want to bring to your attention. So obviously, as the board, you all know that we can work on revising our rules and regulations. Statutes are in the hands of the legislature. So we have to look at the statute as it is currently written. If you all were to consider this, there are certain things that would still have to be checked that are required under statute for education that would have to be built into any such model. And I'm not saying what you're going to do, but I'm saying there are a couple of things to consider. The first one is obviously, let me see here, 62.4.108, and that essentially requires that anyone that teaches or attempts to practice or teach holds a license from the board. Asynchronous education is recorded. So a consideration is the person on the video holding a license, being actively licensed at the time that lesson is recorded. That would be a requirement underneath the statute with the reading of 108, because if they don't have a license, how could they put on a teaching module? So
And licensed in the state of Tennessee, correct?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, that's correct. The next thing is statute section 62, hold on, 62.4.122.
Sections B and G specifically of that law.
So B reads, there shall be at least one licensed instructor on the premises whenever a cosmetology, thank you, that's the exact section. There shall be at least one licensed instructor on the premises whenever a cosmetology school, public high school, or a state vocational technical school offering cosmetology courses is in operation. So it would be underneath the board's consideration that if someone were to take an asynchronous course at a period of time, the school that is offering that asynchronous course would essentially need to have an instructor on call, because the operation of the school, I mean, I guess it's up for interpretation, but I believe a school is operating when it's teaching lessons to students. So essentially there would, in order to comply with 62.4.122, the school would still need to make sure that there's one licensed instructor on premises whenever those lessons are being taken in by students.
Statute number 62.4.124. Would you like me to read it, or do you want to?
I got it. I got you. No teaching of cosmetology, whether to students or licensees, is lawful except in a duly operated school. However, for purposes of this section, teaching of cosmetology does not include demonstrations of the technical applications of cosmetology products conducted by manufacturers or dealers, or both, provided that only students or licensees are in attendance. Teaching of cosmetology also does not include instruction in new developments in cosmetology, provided that the instruction is conducted within cosmetology shops and only students or licensees are in attendance. So again, this specific statute would require that if an asynchronous video is recorded, it would need to be recorded within the physical licensed school. At least that is my reading of that statute, because it says no teaching of cosmetology, whether to students or licensees, is lawful except in a duly operated school. My assumption is that the board with synchronous education at this point in time is having the synchronous taught from the school, virtually. The instructor would need to be present at the school in the same fashion.
I have done my homework. This has literally kept me up at night. I was up till midnight again, and that was not the first time that I have revisited this information, both just on my own after last month, or the meeting in October, as well as since I've received this information that was provided to us. It does not seem that way, but you have no idea how badly I want this to work. I feel like my life's work has been surrounded around education and reaching as many students as possible. But with that being said, I also know that integrity of the education is of the utmost importance. I've gone back and forth with this. Is there a way to make it work? And I can't wrap my head around how to make it work. How do we ensure that these students are the students that are attending the classes, and how are they learning? I know from my time during COVID that even with synchronous education, my students suffered. I am one of those people who follow up with students, who follow up with their employers that employ them, and to hear the stories of how they went through the world of COVID and the synchronous education that we offered and how it affected their education as a whole is heartbreaking. Many of our laws and rules, or most of our laws and rules, were written at a time where synchronous or asynchronous education were not even relevant at all. In 1986, when a lot of the laws were written or at least revised, nobody had thought about delivering cosmetology in any other method than boots on the ground. I went through a lot of the paperwork that was turned in, and one of the curriculums that was provided to me was Pivot Point's curriculum, which I taught for years. I even went in and looked at the lesson plans provided by Pivot Point. While, yes, I would agree that if you were going to teach this in a synchronous or asynchronous way, revisions would have to be made to the curriculum. I just took the chapter 102, the science chapter, and I broke that down, and I opened and reviewed every single one of the lesson plans within it. Of the lesson plans, there are 20. If the lesson plans were taught according to those lesson plans, you would find that the majority of or some of the hours were in theory portions of the lesson, meaning that the lesson required a lecture and follow-up handouts or whatever it might be. Classroom discussion has a lot to do with that. Oftentimes, there's a demonstration that is requested that the instructor would do in class along with that. Of these lessons, 8 hours are strictly hands-on. Of the 48 hours that are listed in the science chapter, if you actually go back and look at all the lesson plans, there are actually 49 hours within the lesson plans. 8 are specific to hands-on. These are called workshops, as it's termed by the textbook manufacturer. Those workshops account for 8 of the hours in total. In addition to those, some of the what we might consider theory lessons also require hands-on work within those lessons as well. The life skills chapter, chapter 101, before moving to the Pivot Point curriculum in 2017, I was tasked by the Tennessee Board of Regents to become a digital engagement. I was tasked on a group of people called the Digital Engagement Initiative. We were trying to move courses to an online platform, not that we wouldn't teach them in class, but we would allow them to test and things like that, so they would have a digital footprint. I reviewed curriculums from different manufacturers and chose Pivot Point because I felt like the digital footprint would be easiest with them. While they do have the online component, our instructors still teach live lessons every day. They are only tested and turn in some evaluations online. When talking to the manufacturer of the textbook, the single most common problem, so they did a research study among managers and salon owners across North America, and the single problem that they had with issues that they wanted to resolve with this new curriculum was communication. Communication, I think, will definitely be hindered by moving to an online-only platform, even if it is for theory. The thought of teaching Chapter 1 life skills, and there's a particular module within it called communication, to teach that in a non-communicative way by giving them chapter work or something to review online, I think is quite ironic. I do agree that there may come a point in time where synchronous education is needed, just like it was in COVID, and perhaps even some asynchronous. But we also have to remember what we were tasked to do. And I take my membership here on the board very seriously. I have to look at it from all sides, and I do look at it from the school's perspective and the models that they might put forward. But I also have to look at it from the perspective of being a student and what is best for my career as a student. What is best for my children. If I were sending my daughter or son to beauty school, would this be the best curriculum for them? Is this going to set them up for success in the future? Is the public going to be protected from harm if these students learn in this way? Will this change what they know or how they practice cosmetology? These are all questions that I've asked myself 100 times over, and I don't have the answers. But I don't want you to think, or anyone to think, that I don't think about it and that I don't research. So I think that we do need to provide some guidance for synchronous and asynchronous education, if that is that we don't allow it, if that is that we do allow it, but at a certain percentage. I think there is more research to be done, and I think that we do need to provide guidance because laws and rules were written in a time where this wasn't needed, but now we're in a time where it is needed.
Is there an opportunity to provide approval for a pilot program that is of limited scope to see how well it works before approving it statewide within the parameters that we have within the law?
I don't believe so, because then you'd be giving a school a technological like your pilot program would then be able to offer a product that their competitors within the state could not.
I think another thing that we run into is when we set forth these laws and rules, or if laws come down the pipeline, when we set these rules into effect, that is for one and all. That is for the school that is going to take this and provide the best education that they possibly can, and those mediocre schools that may not. So these rules have to encompass all of those things, and we have to be very careful that we understand and make it very clear what we feel like is going to best benefit not just this school, but all schools and all students in the state, as well as the public that they will be working on.
Is it okay if I add from a school perspective here? So I I think we're all on the same page about protecting the integrity of the education. That we want to do the same thing and ensure that those safeguards and safe holds are in place to make sure that what the student learns, goes from short-term retention to long-term retention. You mentioned at the beginning of this that asynchronous just doesn't work. I would question where the data comes from that it doesn't work, because we have provided the board with data that it does work. The accreditor has shown with, NACIS, for example, has 1,300 schools. They have approved up to 50% in the cosmetology world, and they have proven that it does work. So I would request the board give additional information on the areas that doesn't work so that we can adjust our practices to make sure that those safeguards and safe holds are in place. The other question I would have, I definitely understand, protecting the public from harm, ensuring that the student gets the information that they have. But Pivot Point was one of the curriculum provided there. We also added Milady. We know from an industry perspective, both of those are the primary textbooks in the cosmetology curriculum world. I don't have a preference one over the other. If this board says you need A, B, and C to offer asynchronous, we as a school would shop whatever curriculum provider meets those needs that the board sets. So if you say multi-factor authentication, I will make sure that whatever curriculum provider we have has multi-factor authentication. So it's not built on one particular platform, but a platform that all schools can choose from. I also question, you reference Pivot Point back in 2017. In 2025, going into 2026, there has been vast improvements in the curriculum textbook world from that pre-COVID era to post-COVID. Karina was on here from Milady previously and kind of attested to those, but there has been vast improvements in the last 8 to 10 years on what that technology could offer. So I do question, you had mentioned that it opens the door for all. It doesn't have to open the door for all. This board kind of can decide what door is open. Judging by Alabama has in place that, they rely on the accreditor's approval. That is something that could be, in place, that this board says schools must justify that through their accreditation, they met the minimum distance learning asynchronous standpoints in order to get approved from the board. It could be something that is that simple.
The synchronous education that I said does not work it did not work for my students. And we could probably argue that back and forth a million times. While you can find references to it working, I can find just as many references to it not working. PSI themselves have a blog out on their website where it identifies that test scores dropped directly after COVID, and they relate that to the education that was then provided online. I've gone back and forth. I've tried to find the light sides as well as the negative. I'm not trying to stack the odds against anyone. And whenever I say it's open to all, I don't mean the entire curriculum is open to all. I'm talking about every school in the state and all the schools moving forward. We just have to be very clear in our intentions if we're going to set forth rules, that these rules work for the students that are going to get their license under this board. Does it work for those schools who will come to us after this and the schools that are already open? We just need to be very careful about the rules that we write, that they work, and we're clear about how that they would work and the repercussions if they don't.
If I could add one piece from what was brought up by Ms. Davis. Our schools do not have to be accredited. And just statistically, I would say we're a little more than a third of our schools are accredited. And so we do have to keep in mind the small schools that can't afford the application with THEC, the NACIS or the COE, right? And so limiting our smaller schools probably would go against our welcoming state to small businesses. Just something to think about as we write rules that right now they don't have to be accredited.
So at this point, what we have here are laws that are, statutes that are in place that don't necessarily allow for asynchronous education, from what?
I would disagree. I would say that the statute does not, our statutes and rules do not directly prohibit asynchronous. I brought up those sections because those are check boxes that if the board were to develop an asynchronous program, we're gonna have to work into whatever that program looks like and make sure that they're checked. But I would not directly agree with the statement that our current statutes and rules prohibit asynchronous. I believe that as the chair has stated very eloquently, our rules and regulations were written before this was even a thought. And because of that, there is no direct prohibition. It kind of it does. It falls into your all's evaluation of whether or not this is protecting the students. It's fair to students from all backgrounds. It's good for this industry. You know, that is the power that you all are charged with in making these decisions. And I believe as your legal counsel, there is no prohibition now. So if the board were to decide to entertain this idea and to begin drafting rules, we don't need to wait on the legislature to repeal a statute to do it. I think that we could. Now, it may look a little bit like a bionic man or a Frankenstein because we have statutes that we still have to meet, like the teacher being present physically in a school, XYZ, but I think it is possible. So I certainly don't want the board to believe that as written, this conduct is directly prohibited because there is no direct prohibition on it.
Gotcha.
There we go. For the board, Texas allows 50% of their theory hours.
Good clarification. Like our curriculum, 50% theory, 50% practical. Texas allows all of the 50% theory to be distance education, which could be synchronous or asynchronous. So essentially in Texas, you could get 50% of your hours, everything but practical, with
Online.
asynchronous education.
And Alabama says 50% of the curriculum. It doesn't outline
Like total hours.
what that is.
Right, it doesn't
could
limit
be
it
both.
specifically to theory.
Interesting. For the record, I'm a big fan of this. As a business owner, been in this business for almost 20 years myself, I'm finding that our current school system does not work for the folks that I'm hiring. I'm finding that most students are limited to the schools in their driving distance, and that's how they're making education requirements. As a mom, I would never want my students' education to be limited to where they could physically drive as a limitation because there are so many online opportunities. So I would love to see this work. I would love to be this standard across all of our schools. I am in favor of this being only applied to the theory portion of our curriculum, and I would like to discuss how many hours, whether that's 100% of the theory hours or a portion of those hours being distance.
If you look at like the master barber curriculum, it's kind of lopsided because it's not 50-50. You got so many chemical, you got so many general, you have so many hands-on hours. So it couldn't be 50-50. So that was the thing when I was reading through everything yesterday, that was the thing that stood out the most because it couldn't necessarily, if you want to limit it to just theory hours, it couldn't be because it's not mapped out that way. Not in the barber rules. It's not mapped out that way. It's not 50-50. Most of the time that we do in the barber curriculum is hands-on. So it could be done, but it couldn't be 50-50 if we go by the way it's written.
And it's also like that in most of the disciplines, you have hands-on in theory in tandem at the same time in each chapter. You have, like you said, like certain chapters where it's just theory, but after you get past like sanitation, consultations, things like that, although they're in the shampoo chapters, yes, it's theory, but it's also application being taught as well. Like Amy, I'm on the fence, and I'm not typically on the fence of, in most situations, but I'm on the fence because yes, it can work, but the level of security is where I'm like, no, it really can't work because again, the small schools, we do have to think about the small schools who can't afford the technology, who this may work for them because they can't hire all of the teachers needed. And as far as like the distance part, how bad do you want it? My school is in Memphis. I have students to drive from Nashville to Memphis. Would I drive? No. On a daily or figure out some type of way to, lessen the commute. But, people, they're going to go for what they really want as far as, their goals. I'm for it, but again, just creating the regulations around it, because as it stands, if we say yes, my part of Tennessee is gonna run rampant.
Well, I think ultimately, right, students will have a choice. Right, students are, this is economics, right? Students are going to have a choice of what program they want to do. They can continue to go to schools who are offering 1,500 hours in person. That will be a choice. But they will also have a choice to offer, and there are schools already offering quite a few hours synchronously, right? I have seen those advertised more and more in the state of Tennessee where students are receiving, because we have approved those, quite a few of their hours from their homes on their theory. This allows the schools, I would argue this keeps costs down at the schools, because they don't have to have students on campus and students can access this material from their home whenever they want to. And I'm seeing a lot of schools that are already at capacity. They can't add more teachers. They can't add more students. They don't have teachers to add. That's a huge problem in our industry, right? I'm at schools all the time that would love to hire 3 more teachers and they don't have them to hire. So therefore they can't grow. And that's not good for the schools and that's not good for the students. So I'm not advocating that we move online only, right? This is a hands-on industry. But I do think there are ways to offer some of these hours that can be a win-win for everybody.
Right.
Can I
Definitely
add?
creating some rules around it.
Can I add, I just want to make a point that we're not saying we're going to offer up to 50% completely asynchronously. The reason we have up to 50% is to allow for that flexibility. So in a lesson plan, if we go back to, if we say biology, or if we're looking at, chemical composition, that lesson plan may have a component that has 5 hours asynchronously and 2 hours synchronously, where the teacher says, okay, at 10 o'clock, if you're available, jump on a Zoom, here's what it is, and they're able. So it's a flexibility of all modalities, and it doesn't replace in person. So if there's an in-class demonstration, that is still done on campus. Students are still required to come to class. There is practical portions. There's, so much of that information is still on campus, and it just allows for flexibility between the 3 modalities of synchronous, asynchronous, or in person.
I think that we need to develop or have a rulemaking hearing surrounding these things. I would love to have Joe to head that up for us and let us know when that might be. In the meantime, we need to, and I need you all to help dive in and figure out what does education look like moving forward in a virtual world. I'm interested to hear what portions that you feel like, and I would even have you to go and look at the curriculum as we have it laid out. And those of you that are barbers, look at cosmetology. Cosmetologists look at barbers as well, to look at those curriculums and figure out which ones of those are theory lessons that can be taught synchronously. How many of those and how many hours do you think can be taught asynchronously? The asynchronous education, what does that look like? Are you all happy to have them read a lesson online? So would it be a PowerPoint? Would it have to be a video that was recorded of a lecture? I don't know what the answers are.
Becky, I don't know if that's too much in the weeds.
I think that figuring out who creates those lessons.
Well,
So
that's a good
was it-
question. Is this, I mean, I've looked at Milady and SEMA quite a bit lately because I'm just sheerly curious how this all works. Are you planning on outsourcing all of your curriculum to SEMA and a Pivot Point?
Correct. So most schools, and us included, you use My Lady or Pivot Point as your
Yeah.
primary source curriculum. And that brings up a valid point that I want to make as well. SEMA already exists at the high school students that were in here today. I questioned them when they walked in. I was like, hey, what do y'all use? And they said, oh, we're in My Lady. I said, are you in SEMA? And they said, yes. So SEMA's in our high schools.
So you're paying for these textbook companies.
It already exists.
You already have this
Yes.
technology,
The
as do
technology's-
most of our schools who are using one of these two textbook companies, right? Who are the biggest in the industry. They now offer online education opportunities.
Correct.
So you're just asking to get those hours using the tools that you already have. You're not creating your own content.
That is correct. We're not creating our own content. We want to use the tools in place. But I will say that one curriculum provider does have more advanced technologies as far as tracking the student and the seat time and multi-factor authentication, and that is My Lady. They have invested a lot of technology.
But ultimately, at the state level, once we set a criteria of what is synchronous or asynchronous or what we allow, we can't control the curriculum or how it's delivered. That is outside of our scope.
Yeah, we certainly couldn't send business to My Lady because we like their program better. It would be a blanket, hey, an asynchronous program looks like X, Y, Z, and then that would apply to any service provider, and then they're going to have to meet our criteria and appease the board to make sure that they're teaching things the right way and that students are getting valuable lessons. One thing that I'd consider to piggyback off of Becky's statement is when you're looking at the current curriculums, you've got to consider what the board has already approved for distance learning, okay? We cannot shrink that window. So the evaluation is going to be the portion of the curriculum that this board has already established as being approved for synchronous distance education and evaluate whether or not asynchronous education could be worked within there. We can't shrink what we're evaluating for distance education because this board has already evaluated and approved distance education, although synchronous. Does that make sense? We cannot say this pool is getting smaller because now we're considering asynchronous. You're going to say, hey, we've considered this portion of the curriculum okay for distance. Within this, which we've already approved this area, can we fit asynchronous in here as a building block? But we can't shrink down the distance, the big distance picture, I guess is what.
Which is, we've approved synchronous learning for any hours at this time. Is that correct?
We've not set the percentage up until now. That's correct. The only percentage that is set for barbering and cosmetology and all the disciplines is apprenticeship has set theory at 50% for barbers as well and practical at 50%. That is stated in our rules.
50% virtual, 50%?
Not virtual, just theory versus practical. Just
Oh, of
to
course.
add that piece.
Got
But
it.
no, when we've said to schools you can teach using Zoom, you can teach in a synchronous fashion. We've not set the percentage. That is correct.
Gotcha. Thank you.
In the rules, it does state that a minimum of 10% must be taught in theory. So we're looking at a minimum of 10%. Can that theory, even if it were that 10%, can that theory portion be taught synchronously or asynchronously? I think what I'm getting down to, without getting so much in the weeds, is I want you to think about the way that it's divided up, the general hours, the physical hours, and the chemical hours. Can general hours all be taught synchronously or asynchronously? A portion of general hours synchronous or asynchronous? How about the physical? How about the chemical? So whenever we're looking at chemical hours, I'm thinking about hair color. Do you think that a portion of hair color could be taught synchronously? Could it all be taught synchronously? Does it all need to be hands-on in a school? I don't know what the magic numbers are, but I do want you to think about it as you're going through the curriculum. Think through that in your mind. What portions of these lessons would be considered theory versus the practical hands-on portions? And are we allowing any of the practical hands-on portions to be taught either synchronously or asynchronously, as well as the theory lessons? Just look through it, make some notes. I'd love to come back together and have some rulemaking for this. I'm not saying no, don't do it at all. I'm saying if they're going to do it, if schools are going to do it, how are we best looking out for the students who are receiving this education?
Can I ask, has that already been defined through your apprenticeship theory program? If you have 50% theory hours through the apprenticeship schools, hasn't that already been defined through that 50%? No?
Is that the parameter, like the 50%?
Just for apprenticeship.
Just for-
50% is 50 theory, 50 practical, hands down.
So are we using
could.
that? Are we using that to kind of as kind of like the model for this, what we're talking about now? No.
Sort of to Becky's point, you don't have to. I think Becky's suggestion is taking the general, the physical, and the chemical hour breakdown.
Right.
And you have that right,
Yeah,
I believe.
that's what I was thinking.
I've framed it that way because that's how Alabama and Texas,
right.
they throw around the
Okay.
practical versus theory and
Yeah.
the 50% figure.
Yeah.
So I apologize if
No.
I'm very
Because even the 50% on apprenticeship, it was, I mean, I don't know. I would have voted against that myself just because I don't agree with that because it's not mapped out that way. You know what I'm saying? If you go by the physical, the chemical, and the it's just not the way. So I'm usually by the book on all of it. So that's the way I understand it, and that's the way I move on it. So with this, I would think that, you know, there are only certain courses that you could do asynchronous. I think for some of the courses it works, I think. But for others, it really doesn't, right? Because there's a lot of other things. It's like we was talking about earlier. You know, I'm teaching a lesson on something, but there is a certain hands-on portion of that lesson. Even though it's theory, there is a certain hands-on portion of that needs to be, you know, that needs to be given to the student as well. You know what I'm saying? It's hard for me to teach it if I can't show it, you know? So some of it works, I think it works. But other parts, I don't think it does, you know?
Could I add a few points, please? To your point, the Tennessee Board of Nursing would agree with you that theory class does work in an asynchronous environment. And one suggestion I could make is I think the schedule that Lauren put forward was the students actually still go to class every day. So Ms. Russell, maybe something that would work now while we go into rulemaking, because if I'm being honest, we've been at this for 6 months and it's largely disappointing to come with no decision. And I understand it's a big one, but I guess I would have assumed these conversations were happening in the background. But if the student still comes to school every day, then you guarantee, to your point, I've been an instructor, I get it. Even if it's theory, I need to show you this thing or whatever, right? So the schedule she put forward, they come to school 4 hours, 5 days a week, and they just do their theory portion asynchronously on their own schedule. And someone said earlier, it seemed to me the board was actually excited about approving the asynchronous CEU program. So we're excited about that for our technicians.
Wait,
But-
what is the schedule you've proposed? It's 4 hours a week in person and
Yeah, so five days a week, Monday through Friday, 4 hours a day, and 10 hours per week, distance learning.
And just a second, I do want to interrupt something. Conversations don't happen anywhere but in here. So the board members do not email each other. They don't discuss this. They never see each other's email when I send something.
Thank you. Got it.
Absolutely. And so this is your first chance to have this open conversation so we can write rules to move forward, because this will have to be codified in rule. Those unfortunately do take a minute. They'll be approved by our division, they'll be approved by the Secretary of State, they will move forward. So the homework, if Ms. Russell has very eloquently kind of laid everything out, or more research you have to do, you now all have the same records to review. Nothing goes to one and not the other. So as we look at what the homework assignment is, and it is pretty big, we can continue in the meeting until you all want today, but it will still happen here in person together to decide what those rules look like with the guidance of our attorney. The reason continuing education has been approved is it's been denied probably 2 or 3 years in a row, right? And it was denied only because we had a very bad experience with the security for it. I don't think this board would ever just deny something. You're pretty open in looking at what can work for students and for all students. It was denied because we had over 30 instructors that had to stop working until they could take a session. It had a lot of impact. So I think for security reasons, this particular time, they've reviewed it, and thank you to those that did it. and you were able to approve it. I just wanted to add that so that there's some clarity.
And even with the 10% that they are requesting, that's for that one specific school. Yes, they require the students to come in and do it there at the location, but once we open it up for all schools, they may not require that. And how do we regulate that? We don't know.
Well, you do get to review the school application, right? So this would be all information like you all review, as we did this morning for hours, information that the school's going to need to put in front of you as far as to their asynchronous program. The next thing I would say is we do have the tests as a fallback. I understand that we do not want students, and as someone that has student loans, I get it. We don't want students paying for education that's ultimately not going to get them to the destination. However, it's multi-tiered, okay? So we do have tests that are going to require that students put forth the talents needed for the industry in order to get the license. I believe these conversations are important to have. I appreciate them putting paperwork together because it is hard for us to have these conversations without a starting point. If there's nothing on a piece of paper, we have theoretical discussions over and over again, and it's hard for us to hit the ground running or make up ground anywhere because we don't have a starting point. I think, and it's the board's decision, I think the chair made a great point in saying, hey, let's go ahead and theoretically open this up for ruling. I can get some concrete information, regulations on paperwork for you all to consider in detail, and then we can start moving forward in one direction or the other in earnest. I do believe that they make a great point in the fact that as a business owner, they're doing the right thing, they're coming here for direction, right? And we want to make sure that we incentivize that as opposed to someone just going willy-nilly in the marketplace and then us having to deal with it through the complaint process. So again, I'm not telling you what to do. I do believe that it would be beneficial if we're going to move forward with this, that we go ahead and give me the authority to start making some rules and rulemaking process. The rulemaking hearing puts the rules in front of you all for approval. Nothing is approved until we go through that rulemaking process. So I believe the drafting is really a no harm, no foul. I get paid by the state regardless, so give me the assignment, I'll get it done, and then we can put it in front of you all and see what you think about it. I just don't know how else we can go anywhere without a starting point, I guess is what I'm saying.
So, Ms. Russell, as far as our starting point, we would do our homework first, correct? And then come back.
I think if Joe would start drafting some potential rules, a discussion point for us, and we can all work on homework. Just jot down your ideas, what rules that you would like to see. That way, if Joe has something that you don't like, or Joe missed something that you do want in effect, then it can be discussed at that rulemaking hearing. So then we have something to move forward with.
If I could add, you can each absolutely email Joe or I, like you've always, right? That is how you communicate, send us questions. Joe is more than happy to get your ideas and feedback and your personal suggestions so that he knows kind of where to start. Given that he's presented Texas and Alabama, it's, I think, a couple of the states that were brought up in the answers that were provided. They seem the closest to us. I guess as guidance, is there anything else you want? Are we, so that Joe doesn't just write in every direction, are we leaning toward the theory being separated from the practical, or do we want to go general, physical, and chemical? Keeping in mind that every school, when they present their application, will need to break that down.
One last thing to piggyback on Roxana. There is a beneficial strategy to keeping rules as least specific as possible because the world changes, right? So if we're going to jump into the percentage of this specific subject matter being approved, this percentage of this subject matter being approved, be aware that down the line, if our subject matters categories change, we now have an issue with the asynchronous, synchronous distance education learning because we've tied them to specific matters. So it is the board's decision, but I will say there is a strategy, I believe, as legal counsel in writing rules and regulations to make them last and impact a wider group of individuals. If you do consider it basically on the plane that Roxana has presented and breaking up between practical education, which would be a non-starter because you need to be in there with your hands doing X, Y, Z, as opposed to theory and law education. So I guess being said, the decision is yours, but I would caution you to start getting very specific on every single subject matter, because next year subject matter could be thrown out, could be changed, or X, Y, Z, and then we're having these conversations right again. So I think framing it on theory, practical, or you all are in the field, so you know more than me, whatever that realm is of keeping things, in 2 pie pieces or maybe 3 pie pieces instead of 7 is beneficial for everybody.
So at this point today, to bring this to closure, what do we need to do? Because in all the discussion, I've sort of lost where we're going. If we're approving, if we're tabling, what is the question in front of us right now today?
It's all in front of you today. You can make the ruling that you're going to deny asynchronous education moving forward, that you're going to stick with your policies, or that we want to pick up this matter and start drafting rules and consider it at a rulemaking hearing, and then basically pick up the matter in earnest at that rulemaking hearing. The decision is yours.
Can I say one thing? Being 35 years in the field, when I did my manicuring class, it was 250 hours. And with that, I learned very little. All of my learning, thankfully at that time, was continued education, conferences. I fell in love with it. I immersed myself in it, and I just went to everything I could to learn. And even talking with students today, even though they're learning more than I learned, it's still limited, because what you really learn is by experience. And so for me, the apprenticeship program was very beneficial to kids today, because they're hands-on part of the way within a safe parameter, because I think safety is very important. But I think that throwing the baby out with the bathwater may not be the best choice, but maybe seeing, like you said, approaching it safely, finding out what works. But two, at the end of the day, schools will teach the basics, and what you learn, you're gonna learn out there. So whatever they learn, whether it's synchronous, asynchronous, in a class, practical, there's still things to learn. And I don't think we can lose by really, like you said, in earnest, digging into this thing and saying, hey, how can we make this work? But also being aware that we can only teach them so much, because they're gonna have to learn on their own eventually anyway, which is what has made my business succeed, because I chose to immerse myself and be excellent at what I do. So if we keep excellence as a foundation and then safety as a parameter, I think that certain things can definitely work.
Joe, do you need a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with a rulemaking hearing, that we do our homework. Between now and then, we email Joe with any of our opinions as you're drafting some of these rules for us to consider. That would be my motion. When could a rulemaking hearing happen? How soon?
So it's a great question. I was about to hit on it. So underneath our laws, a rulemaking hearing can only be scheduled 52 days after notice of our drafted rules are posted with the Secretary of State. So essentially, our clock would not start until we decide on our published, like what we want to publish as a board. Like once you review my drafted rules, you look at it, you give me critique, you say, hey, this is great, we want this to move forward. I then file that, and essentially the clock would begin then. So this isn't something that would be effective in our meeting in February. It would be something theoretically you all could review my drafted rules in February, put your input, we make revisions, and then, you know, keep the process moving then. So, I mean, realistically, you're probably looking at a rulemaking hearing, if I'm being frank with you, based off of our board schedule. April being the very earliest, June most likely.
Yep.
And unfortunately, it's just the laws in place.
Thank you.
Can I ask, is the school allowed to respond to some of the information presented today from our end? Are we allowed to keep these line of communications open?
As in, like, give us information on asynchronous education?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely.
As a member of the industry, you give us some of the best information that we have. You're working on the ground. So yes, absolutely. Anything that you have.
Thank you.
I would say if any of you all contact me, that's great. I want your information. Send it to me and Roxana. Do not CC any other board members on it, okay? Because that's where we walk into a board meeting, and that's got to be open and public, as Roxana has explained, okay?
And I know it sounds, well, it is a lengthy process. The apprenticeship rules took over 2 years. Not to scare anybody, but they were controversial, right? The schools all had a say. Instructors all thought they were losing their jobs. This will be hopefully different. This is a new thing that we're setting, but the schools and the individuals will also have at the hearing time to opine, time to change things, and so that sometimes is what goes back and forth and stretches time out. So hopefully you all will do your homework. We will look into it. We have information coming from one of the schools that is potentially doing it in other states as well. So hopefully the draft rules before they hit the rulemaking hearing will really make sense, not be overcomplicated to where, you know, the schools will understand it also.
So we have a motion and a second to have Joe to draft rules for us to look at. All in favor? Aye. All right. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you very much to both of you for appearing and answering our questions. I will email the documents to you separately from what you have on the iPad so that you've got them as well. I have no other business. Dana is on WebEx. Dana, I don't think we've got anybody still with us, but is there anyone participating virtually from the public that has any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, and there is no one.
There's several still on the meeting, but nobody
No
has
chats.
chatted.
Thank you so much for staying on with us and checking on that. I appreciate it. So we would entertain a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Mr. Baldwin, second. All in favor? Aye. Hope you all have wonderful holidays.
Merry Christmas. Have a wonderful holiday. Thank you.